program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, it's John Tesh. You want to know how to get better rates, better coverage, and better service on your home and auto insurance? Work with Zander Insurance. I know it's a big promise, but this team delivers. They've been around for almost 100 years and have earned the privilege of representing dozens of insurance companies so they can shop, compare, and find you the best options available. More options mean more savings, and in many cases, better coverage. But it doesn't stop there. Each year, they review your coverage to make sure your rates stay competitive. Nobody else does that. And when it comes to service, just check out their ratings. Zander is one of the top agencies in the industry, and they earned that spot with their commitment to making sure their clients are taken care of like family. That's what sets them apart. Go to Zander.com for quick online quotes or call 800-356-1780 for that personal touch that you've been missing.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rex Road 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3, The Game. We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah, and like us on Facebook, too. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Tell me, though, what's going on with your guy, Aaron Rodgers? Because they've shown his face on, we got the TV right here. ESPN has had Aaron waiting 4 or 5 different times in the last hour and a half.
Oh, yeah.
This is story of the day. There's been money handed out all over them. Denver's paid a guard. Atlanta's paid a guard.
That's right.
Washington's paid a D tackle. I believe somebody just paid another D tackle. Atlanta paid another D tackle. There's all these storylines happening. Guess what? Aaron Rodgers doing. AJ, now is the perfect time if there ever was.
That's right. Spill the beans.
Go ahead, let everybody know about it.
I like how you lay it all out and you do all this just for a big disappointment because you know I do not know what's going to happen.
Come on.
And like I said before, if Aaron knows, don't you think he's going to tell us? He's going to tell everybody and let everyone know, right?
There you go. That was the Pat McAfee show earlier today. Everybody waiting on what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. Apparently, Trey Wingo is reporting that Aaron Rodgers to the Jets is done. Wingo tweeted out, hearing Rodgers to the Jets is done. History about to repeat. Minutes ago. So he is hearing that Aaron Rodgers is a Jet, which honestly is the least surprising news of the day. And my question is, what took so long? And I would be fascinated to see what the return is for Aaron Rodgers, because I can't imagine that this was an easy deal to get done between the Packers and the Jets, even though the Jets want Aaron Rodgers and the Packers want to get rid of Aaron Rodgers. Because Aaron Rodgers is owed $58 million as a roster bonus for this year. And Green Bay doesn't want to pay any of that $58 million. Well, I can't imagine the Jets want to pay the $58 million. And so the Jets are looking at it, knowing Green Bay doesn't want to pay the $58 million. And they're saying, look, we'll give you a 4th-round pick in next year's draft. Not this year's draft, next year's draft. But we're not going to bail you out of the contract that you signed. So either you give us Aaron or We'll give you a better pick, but you have to eat some of the money. But again, that trade would not be official until Wednesday. All this stuff that happens right here would not be official until Wednesday. But Trey Wingo is saying the Aaron Rodgers deal is done, which is good. Which is good that Aaron Rodgers did not completely screw over his team, because it felt like that's what he was doing. It felt like what he was doing was basically shoving it up the Packers, saying, oh, I haven't made a decision. Oh, I don't know yet. And really doing it to handcuff the Packers as they approach free agency with Jordan Love, i.e. to set Jordan Love up to fail. But by doing that, you're handcuffing the Dolphins as well, or the Jets as well. I said this yesterday. I mean, I saw that the Dolphins went and signed or traded for Jalen Ramsey, and it was basically a sign because they gave him away for nothing. It's a third-round pick and a tight end who's caught one pass. And that was what they ended up getting Jalen Ramsey. And I'm like, they're looking at it saying, we got to play Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers 6 times a year. Well, I guess Mac Jones is the other. So we got to play them 4 times a year and Mac Jones twice. Not that Mac Jones, I think, scares anybody. But that's what we have to do. And they're like, no. We're going to go out and get the best corner we can get. Well, the corner market kind of stinks. Okay, well, then let's go out and trade for the best corner we can get. Who's the best corner we can get? Jalen Ramsey. All right, let's trade for him. And that's what I think has happened here. But again, it's just Trey Wingo who's saying it. And so until we see, or at least until I see, one of these other, insiders come out and tell us for sure that Aaron Rodgers is going to the Jets, I am still a little cautious. But Trey Wingo's a pretty reliable dude. So Trey Wingo says, again, Aaron Rodgers is headed to the Jets. That's the least surprising news of the day. I said the thing that would be crazy is not so much if Aaron Rodgers were to be traded by the Jets or be traded by the Packers to the Jets. What I thought would be crazy would be the idea if Aaron Rodgers wasn't traded to the Jets. If it came out today, Aaron Rodgers has decided to retire, now that would be a shocking headline. If it came out, Aaron Rodgers has decided that he wants to go to, say, the Raiders before they sign Jimmy Garoppolo, that would be a shocking headline. But the headline of Aaron Rodgers is being traded to the Jets, that's probably the least surprising news of all time. Now, speaking of surprising news, I did see a story today that I think is exactly why you don't see the Titans jumping in the deep end right now in the free agency market. So the New England Patriots this time 2 years ago, and I remember because we were off the air that day for a Predators game that had been moved to the middle of the day on a Monday because of COVID. And so free agency, the legal tampering period opened up, and we were off the air. And the first deal at 12:01 p.m. that was signed was Jonnu Smith to the New England Patriots for a guaranteed $50 million. And I remember we were talking leading up to the franchise tag deadline, we were talking about whether or not the Titans were going to use the tag on Jonnu Smith. And I wouldn't have used the tag on Jonnu Smith, but I know a lot of you were thinking about it. And I'm like, $12.5 million is a lot of money for Jonnu Smith. And Jonnu Smith didn't even have 500 yards. And then all of a sudden, on the first day of free agency, Belichick plops down $50 million guaranteed for Jonnu Smith. And I remember thinking to myself, that is a crazy, ridiculous amount of money for Jonnu Smith. But I guess everybody saw what we saw, that Jonnu Smith's pretty good. Well, over 2 years, the Patriots never used Jonnu Smith. I think over the 2 years, he had 50-something catches. So basically, Jonnu Smith earned $1 million a catch over 2 years with the New England Patriots. They traded him for a 7th-round pick, so essentially a salary dump, to the Atlanta Falcons, and it said in the trade that Jonnu Smith was going to, quote-unquote, rework his deal. Now, I don't know if that means restructure and just get a bunch of money up front and lower the cap number, or I don't know if it's that, or I don't know if it was so much as like Arthur and Jonnu said ahead of time, hey, dude, if you want to accept this trade here, we'll play you. We know how to use you. Clearly, New England, you're playing 17 snaps a game in New England. They clearly don't know how to use you. I know how to use you. So you need to take a little bit less money to come here, and then you'll get some stats, and then you can go back into free agency or something. Whereas if you go back there, you'll play 17 snaps a game, and you're going to be released at the end of the year. But man, I wasn't the biggest Jonnu Smith fan in the world, but the fact that Jonnu Smith signed for all that money and was that bad, I think is pretty crazy. I didn't see that one coming. But man, what a bad deal by the Patriots. So you all crap on John Robinson all you want, and John Robinson wasn't perfect, and I don't think anybody was. But boy, he got that one right. What an unmitigated disaster. What an unmitigated disaster for the Patriots. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I keep looking as I see like people starting to say, see, Aaron Rodgers is going to the Jets, Aaron Rodgers. I keep looking to see if somebody else is going to corroborate the report that Aaron Rodgers is going to the Jets right now, but considering that it feels like that's common sense, I guess there's not any pushback on that. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in, 615-737-1025. Again, the Titans, incredibly inactive so far, but that was something that we were all led to believe here on the program. Texter into the text line says that Kyle Pitts is better than Jonnu Smith, and I feel like that's going to be a good fit to go along with Arthur Smith's offense. I mean, clearly Kyle Pitts is better than Jonnu Smith. I feel like the reason they're doing this is so that they can use Kyle Pitts more as a wide receiver anyway. Texter into the text line says, Cam Sutton is probably better than any corner currently on the Titans roster. Now, I don't completely disagree with that, but is he worth the $33 million? See, I did a deal with Cam Sutton last week in the free agency preview. I wanted to give him $7.5 million a year. They gave him 11. Is he an $11 million corner? And this is what happens. The only teams that can spend money in free agency when the free agent class isn't that good, or the only teams that should, are the teams that do not have the draft picks to be able to draft better players. Should the Titans be able to draft a better corner with the 41st pick in this year's draft than Cam Sutton? And I think the answer is probably yes. The Denver Broncos don't have a first-round pick. They don't have a second-round pick. So that just horrendous offensive line that the Broncos had last year, and right now I think what the Broncos are doing, 1 year of Russell being terrible, what this offseason has been is it's been a referendum on it not being Russell's fault. So we fire the coach and we're going to get him a new coach. We fire the offensive line, we're going to get him a new offensive line. That's what they're doing. But they don't have any picks. So when they signed Mike McGlinchey to play right tackle for $50 million guaranteed, there's no possibility that the Broncos could go onto the clock with a player who is better than that available. You take a guy like Nate Davis. I saw that Ben Powers signed with the Broncos, a guard from the Ravens. I have no idea about who's a good guard and who's not. But this Ben Powers supposedly was the best guard on the market. And he signed a deal when Ben Powers signed a deal today with Denver. And I think it was $13 million a year. Well, if Nate Davis is thinking he's going to get $13 million a year, I hope Nate Davis gets $13 million a year, but he ain't going to get it from me. So I think that's what's happening a lot. Now, if you're a team and you have no chance of getting a guard, you're going to go out there and try to pay Nate Davis all that money. Well, good for you, but then you have Nate Davis. And I think Nate Davis was at times a little unreliable. 615-737-1025. Ian Rappaport is reporting, NFL Network, saying as far as the Packers thing, I wish it did. I wish something had happened, but nothing has happened. So Ian Rappaport is saying, Trey Wingo says he hears the deal is done. Ian Rappaport is saying the deal between the Packers and the Jets is not done. So make of that what you will. We'll continue along. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. There is a market the Titans should be interested in. but not at the prices I think this team's looking for. We'll get to that next here on the program. Hey, by the way, be sure to join us at Jasper's on Thursday, located at 1918 West End Avenue this Thursday for the first day of tournament games. While you're there, take advantage of the shot and a beer special. That's a shot of Nelson's Greenbrier Tennessee whiskey plus a bottled domestic for just $10. Jasper's oversized bar, TVs, and game room make them the place to catch all of the games.
When you want all the
Going in and the score. Blast the score. He risks one. They score.
and don't forget the
Oh, what a stop. Sliding across to make the save. Backhander. Nice stop.
when all you want is Smashville. We have you covered. Hear every Predators game right here. We are your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome to Smashville. Join us at Bridgestone Arena for 3 of the best remaining games of the season with the new Nashville Predators Captain's Pack, presented by Jockey. Purchase your 3-game Captain's Pack today at NashvillePredators.com/Captain's Pack to receive 25% off at Jockey.com. $10 in Nash cash for each game, a limited edition digital player card, the opportunity for 2023 Stanley Cup Playoff single game presale, and more. That's NashvillePredators.com/Captain's Pack. Let's go, Preds.
Gary Ashton here. People walk up to me all the time and say, don't sell without the intel. This message couldn't be more true. Right now is a fantastic time to buy or sell your home in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. No one has more intel than the Gary Ashton team. So what is this intel we keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without stagings or showings? Intel on where to find your next home so that you can sell your current home while the market is hot? And intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity. For more intel, visit GaryAshton.com, where we can give you the insight and the most up-to-date real estate intel in Nashville. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate team of the Nashville Predators. Get the confidence to sell your home and find the dream address without the stress. Visit us today at GaryAshton.com. That's GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
For the love of the climb. For the love of the fall. For the love of knowing your kids' laughter is the sweetest music there is. For the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Join 102.5 The Game live from the Rusty Nail in Hermitage on Friday, March 17th.
And the 3 is good.
Take in the first round of games during a St. Patrick's Day celebration. Enjoy $3 2-lane beer drafts all month long during the tournament.
Yes! What a shot!
Plus a great local atmosphere with a big back patio and volleyball courts. There's also great drinks and great food, especially the wings. That's Friday, March 17th at the Rusty Nail in Hermitage. Doors open at 10.
Hey, Nashville, it's Mike Greenberg, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I am going to say this for every player. I'm as open to adding great players to our roster, whether that's at quarterback, that's at running back, that's at defensive line, corner. You know, I do believe that we have, you know, we've got some needs and some holes. I've told you that. I've asked them to look for players that have an element of speed, violence, and versatility, and that's what I want to look for, and look for offensive linemen that can protect the quarterback. You know, whether that's Ryan, whether that's Malik, that's Josh Dobbs, whoever that may end up being. Those are things that, you know, we have to do a better job at.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel at the Combine saying we want to add great players at every position. Though the Titans have been somewhat inactive so far, and by somewhat, I mean almost completely inactive so far in the first, I guess we're on hour 3 right now of free agency. But there was a report that came out today that the Broncos are interested in shopping one of their receivers. Now, they have Cortland Sutton, who I think is the best receiver of the 3. They have Jerry Jeudy, who I think probably has the most talent of the 3 receivers and was the highest draft picked and was the most heralded coming out. And then they have KJ Hamler, who's probably the fastest of the three receivers. And apparently the Broncos are interested in dealing one of those three guys. But they're only interested, and I think Diana Rossini put this out there, they're only interested in picking up the phone. They're not interested in calling around and saying, hey, what will you take? Which is a long way to say, or a sly way of saying, we want a good pick in return for one of our receivers. Now, what the Broncos are doing, and remember that the Broncos have absolutely no draft picks. They used them all on Russell Wilson. They traded away Noah Fant, a legitimate tight end. And they used a draft pick, which was Bradley Chubb, a high-end pass rusher. They used that draft pick on Sean Payton. So they have no draft picks. What they're trying to do is they are trying to use one of those guys as a chip to either improve their defense or improve their offensive line. But here's the problem with the Broncos wanting a first-round pick or wanting a good pick. The Broncos are trying to capitalize on a weak free agent class. Jacoby Myers and Alan Lazard are the best two receivers right now in free agency. And they know that. And so if Jerry Jeudy was a free agent, then he might be the top receiver because the class is so bad. So they're trying to do what the Dolphins did by acquiring Jalen Ramsey, which is we don't want to sign a corner. We'll just trade for a corner. The problem is those guys just aren't that good. If I were the Titans and Denver called me, and you can bet your ass the Titans absolutely need a starting receiver. I mean, honestly, they need a number 3 receiver too, because Nick Westbrook-Akine is a restricted free agent. Excuse me. Nick Westbrook-Akine is a restricted free agent, so he may not be back either. But they cut Robert Woods. They need a number 2 guy. And you look out there and you see nobody in free agency. And with nobody being in free agency, that means Alan Lazard, who's probably a $10 million player, is going to end up with somewhere around $15, $16, $17 million, like Christian Kirk did last year. Well, he's not that good. But I could trade for Jerry Jeudy, or I could trade for Cortland Sutton, but those guys really just aren't that good. Sutton's the best one. He's got an injury history. Jeudy, I'll say this about Jerry Jeudy. I thought when he was at Alabama, I thought he was the next great Alabama wide receiver who was going to be a superstar in the NFL. Everything about Jerry Jeudy in college, to me, just screamed superstar. And it just has not come to fruition. So, I mean, again, you all can sit there and say, receiver, that's what the Broncos want everybody to think. Everybody needs a receiver. Everybody wants a receiver, and there are none out there. And Denver wants you to think, hey, you can't go get a free agent, but you can take one of ours. And if they want good prices for that, I'll trade you a 3rd-round pick for Cortland Sutton. But I'm not going to trade you a 1st-round pick. And that's probably what they're trying to do. Take advantage of the weak market. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam's up next. Thank you for calling. What's up, Adam?
So I agree with you as far as the free agency goes. The Titans, number 1, historically have not been good at picking dudes. And that goes all the way back to, linemen. It goes back to receivers.
Why does that matter to you when the guy picking him has changed? You always bring this up, and honestly, it drives me crazy. The idea of, the Titans don't draft quarterbacks well, so don't draft any quarterbacks. The Titans don't sign free agents well, so don't sign any free agents. The Titans don't. You got a new guy picking them.
I understand that, but what's he done so far? He sounds exactly like the old one. He sounds like J-Rob. He said they're all politics. They're all political, but it still doesn't make it, my point being, it doesn't make it any less frustrating. When you look and you see 20 needs, which I think you actually left short, you said, I think 10 or 11. I think we may need more like 15 or 16 dudes. And he hasn't signed one. He hasn't done anything. You're telling me we couldn't have got Jonnu Smith? We couldn't have shot for him for a 7th-round pick? He's good.
Do you want to pay the money for Jonnu Smith?
I'm sure you could have reworked that. Just like you said. All right, this is my last question. I'll let you speak to it. How does Kansas City get to pay Mahomes $500 million guaranteed or whatever, and then all these other dudes, Chris Jones $100 million, a tackle today $60 million guaranteed, and we can't pay anybody, Jared? That's my point. That's where I'm at as a upset Titans fan. Is we can't afford to pay anybody.
So I've explained this time and time again. Thank you for calling, Adam. I've explained this time and time again, year after year, and really only last year and this year, because prior to that, I did think that the salary cap was real, but the salary cap's fake. And every year this happens, where everybody sits there and they're like, oh, this team, they don't have any cap space. And then they make 4 moves, and then they've got $100 million in cap space, and then they go out and they sign some free agent to a 5-year, $90 million contract, and then they go trade for another guy, and it's not about cap space. The cap's fake. The Buffalo Bills, who have some of the richest owners in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills they just signed a guard to a $24 million contract. So how are the Buffalo Bills paying Josh Allen all that money, paying Stephon Diggs all that money, paying Von Miller all that money, paying this guard all that money? How are they paying the corner all that money, Tre'Davious White? How are they paying all these guys all this money? Because the cap ain't real. The cap is not real. Your budget is real. The cap is not real. And some teams just have bigger budgets than others. It's like San Francisco. San Francisco just signed a defensive tackle. Chase, how much did they sign the defensive tackle for at San Francisco? Like $80 million?
Yep.
$80 million. So now they're paying him. They're paying Bosa. They're paying Armstead. Or I guess they either haven't paid Bosa yet or they will pay Bosa or something like that. Armstead, Fred Warner, the linebacker. They're paying the wide receivers. They're paying the tight end. They're paying the running back. I mean, San Francisco, and you know who their highest capped player was last year? According to the cap, the fake cap? The highest cap player was Jimmy Ward, a safety. Why? Because it's fake. The cap is fake. And that's why it does not apply to Kansas City, because Kansas City will sell every ticket in their building, and Kansas City will have every team hat at the pro shop sold, and Kansas City will just keep making money hand over fist, and they enjoy winning. And there's a certain power that comes to winning that is, hey, we win all these games, and we get to go to the Super Bowl, and we get to party, and everybody looks at us like we're so great. And I think that's an intoxicating feeling when you have it. But when you don't, and you're trying to build a new stadium, then I think you look at your money and you say, okay, we have to be responsible as far as the budget's concerned. But you ask me like, oh, how does Kansas City and how do the Niners and how do the Saints and you know how they spend all this money? Because the cap's fake. I get a tweet once every other day that says, this is an example of how the cap is fake. And every time I'm like, there's 9,000 examples of how the cap is fake. Because it is fake. By the way, when Joe Rexroad went on, his crusade to prove that the cap is real by asking every guest that they had on that show over like a 2-day period whether or not the cap was fake, they asked Joel Corey, the former agent who now works for CBS, they asked Joel Corey if the cap was real, and he said yes. And his logic behind the cap being real was because the Saints were going to have to cut Michael Thomas because of the salary cap. And what's crazy is Michael Thomas hasn't played football in 2 years. Michael Thomas 4 years ago was unstoppable. Then I think he played in 2020, but he's been hurt almost ever since then, and he hasn't played. So normally when a guy doesn't play and he's got a huge salary, you cut him because you just don't want to pay him $20 million to do nothing. That's why you cut Taylor Lewan. Well, now that Derek Carr's there, they're going to keep Michael Thomas, apparently. The cap's fake. It's fake. And I wouldn't keep Michael Thomas either. I'd just get rid of him and try to go forward with Derek Carr. But that's neither here nor there. But it's not real. 615-737-1025. More your phone. 615-737-1025. We'll update you on some more of the signings as well that have come through. FanDuel Sportsbook. That's my official sportsbook app. This March, take a shot at college hoops with a no-sweat bet on FanDuel Sportsbook. It does not matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account. Right now, all customers can tip off the tourney with a no-sweat bet. Just sign into your FanDuel Sportsbook account to claim yours today. Or if you're new to FanDuel, go to FanDuel.com/JGM to get in on all the action. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to that 5 versus 12 seed matchup you've been eyeing. And let me just tell you this right now. I think the team that is getting the least amount of respect, who I think will win the national title, is Duke. I don't think Duke has lost since Valentine's Day. And they've got 2 freshman bigs that are legit at 7 foot. I would just keep my eye on Duke. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. There's no better place to bet the tournament than FanDuel Sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/JGM and make every moment more with FanDuel. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issues non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
They can be a fully formed model of what they're going to be offensively moving forward.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
You don't know what's going to happen with the roster or the team.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
This is a good lesson about sports and what we think and what actually happens.
Chad Withrow on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Our diamonds are direct from the source, direct from the cutters. There's no middlemen, there's no markup.
Meet Ben Wilkes, 10-year jewelry professional at Genesis Diamonds.
We've got everything from half a carat all the way up to 15 carats and everything in between. So I never have to go looking for something.
And if you're in search of that one-of-a-kind designer ring.
Lots of times they come in and she's got a very specific picture, something that she wants, and she's shocked and amazed when I go right to a case and pull exactly what she's been looking at out.
And beyond the best price and selection, every customer at Genesis gets one-on-one personal attention with no hidden agenda.
Every customer that I've ever worked with has my personal cell phone number. It doesn't come from an automated system. It is person-to-person interaction. We're not on commission, so what that means is regardless of what you buy or don't buy, I'm paid the same.
Genesis Diamonds.
Here you get more, you get bigger, better, you get prettier. The quality, the selection, transparency, customer service, it can't be touched. It's unmatched.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hi, this is Chef Mark again from Bob's Steak and Chop House at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Looking for the next place to hold a business dinner or just a private room for you and your guests to enjoy? Then look no further than Bob's. We believe in top quality food and service without all the distractions. So join us and experience why we've been voted Diner's Choice on Open Table for 6 years running.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio, and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
A show that lives and breathes sports.
Focus in, focus in, focus in.
From the SEC.
Credit to the Alabamas, the Georgias, and the Ohio States of the world.
To the Preds.
They've been in a lot of really tight games, but they're not winning enough of them.
To the Titans.
He's talking about what this franchise has built over the years.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace.
What is this? Check it out.
Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I'm stepping into a situation where a program has been established. There's a certain culture, there's a certain fit in how a player's supposed to look. So I'm learning that. I'm learning that, and I'm going to learn what it takes to be a Titan and what that's going to look like. And so it'll be our job and the personnel staff to go get as many players that fit that particular bucket of that particular position group to allow us all to make the most educated decision.
That was Rand Carthon at the Combine. Titans in the free agency market as of now, 0. Back to your phones we go here on the program, our free agency or our legal tampering period show. And a texter says, I think the Titans need to go after Trent Sherfield. It's a wide receiver that played at Vanderbilt, who I believe is with the Dolphins, maybe, or the Niners. I couldn't tell you. Titans need to go after Trent Sherfield. Solid size and very good speed. Has ties to the Niners when Rand Carthon was there. Also re-signed David Long ASAP.
Dolphins.
That comes from Ryan in Nashville. Let me say this about both. You don't need to do that today. That's the thing. I understand the anxiety. I do. I understand the feeling of, Jared, who are we going to sign? What are we going to do? Because somebody else texted in and said, so I guess Malik is going to get plenty of playing time next season because the offensive line will be even worse than they were last year. And I'm like, calm down. Calm down. I've done this before. I've seen all this before. The really, really good players sign right away. The players that are not really good, who masquerade themselves as really, really good players, also sign right away. The guys who are self-aware enough to be able to say, hey, people were telling me that I could get $18 million a year, but the only thing anybody's offering is $14 million a year, and they just go out there and they take it because we don't want to get caught up in this, those guys sign right away. The guys who are average players or even solid players do not normally sign on the first day of free agency. And what you're talking about Trent Sherfield, a guy who had 30 catches last year. You're not talking about a guy who was the number one wide receiver. Talking about a guy that had 30 catches a year ago. That guy's going to be available. Just like Nick Westbrook-Akine. If the Titans end up not tendering him, and I wouldn't tender Nick Westbrook-Akine. If the Titans end up not tendering him or not re-signing him by Wednesday at 3 o'clock, he becomes a free agent. And again, you can wait on a Nick Westbrook-Akine. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but you can wait on him. You don't have to jump right out and sign him. If you want Mike McGlinchey, you have to jump out right away and sign that guy. And Mike McGlinchey, to me, and I like Mike McGlinchey, and I told you he wanted to come here, I don't think he's a $17 million a year player to me. But the Denver Broncos are just throwing money at trying to protect their Russell Wilson investment or trying to at least make themselves feel like there's some positive outcome there with their Russell Wilson investment. So they're just, whatever it takes, here's your $17 million, go. Then he brings up David Long. I don't know how much money David Long thinks he's going to get. But TJ Edwards of the Eagles, who is a better player than David Long, just signed for 3 years and $19.5 million with the Bears, who have like $150 million in cap space. So he signed for $6.5 million a year. Here are the middle linebackers that are available. And Jermaine Pratt of the Bengals, who's a solid player, signed for $7 million a year over 3 years. Here's the market of middle linebackers. Bobby Wagner, Levante David, Bobby Okereke, Leighton Vander Esch, David Long Jr., Drew Tranquill, Denzel Perriman. They're all out there. There's like 9 or 10 guys that are off-ball linebackers. David Long is undersized, and he's injured. There's not a market out there for David Long. If the guy in Philadelphia, Edwards, is getting $6.5 million, there is not a market to sign David Long Jr. as soon as possible. Now, last week, I thought it was going to take you $7 million a year to make sure that you got David Long Jr. And I said this last week, too, when we talked about which free agents of the Titans I'd like to keep. And I said Austin Hooper and David Long Jr. But in both cases, I want almost no commitment. And in the case of Long, I would tell him straight up, go look for a deal, and whatever deal you find, come back to us. And if we can match it, we will. And if we can't, then we'll shake your hand, we'll say congratulations, and we'll wish you nothing but the best. But again, if the going rate for the first inside linebacker off the board is $6.5 million a season, and you know that all of that's not guaranteed, if that's the first deal off, then what is David Long Jr.'s value? $12 million over 3 years? I said to somebody today, I go, if I'm David Long Jr. and I saw that TJ Edwards deal, first thing I'm doing is picking up the phone and saying to the Titans, 2 years, $10 million. Let's do it. Now, he probably woke up this morning thinking that he was a $7 million player. But right now, he'd be wise to pick up the phone and call the Titans and realize that he might be more of a $4 or $5 million player. And that's just how the market works. But you want to sign David Long Jr. as soon as possible. And if you pick up the phone for David Long Jr. on the first day of free agency, he's going to want a top-of-the-market deal. And I wouldn't do it. Texter says, I don't understand it. The owner, Amy Adams Strunk, got in front of everybody and said the reason she fired John Robinson is because she has higher aspirations so that we could all make the Super Bowl because making the playoffs all the time wasn't good enough. So if the Titans can't afford to budget in a roster that is Super Bowl quality, what was all of the commotion for? Why he was fired? Why do the Titans have higher aspirations when they don't have the money to buy higher aspirations or a roster that can do it paying the players is a big deal. If the Titans don't have the money, then she was full of crap about everything she said. I don't think it's so much the not having the money. And again, like I said, I just want to keep an eye on the money being spent. I just want to keep an eye on it. But I think the bigger issue was from her standpoint, and I'm going to back her on this. She's like, I'm paying Julio Jones all this money, and this is what I'm getting. I'm paying Bud Dupree all this money, and this is what I'm getting. I'm paying these guys in free agency, and this is what I'm getting. And that's probably what led to John Robinson being fired. But that also means guys on the market. You know, Floyd used to always say this, and I think it's always worth repeating, which is a guy is only available on the market for one of four reasons. 1, bad player. 2, bad guy. 3, too expensive. 4, injured. So whatever reason you're signing somebody for, that one of those 4 things exists. And I think the Titans are looking at it saying, well, you know, if Kelvin Beachum doesn't sign with us, we can go find another left tackle. And we only want to offer him $4 million. Now, Kelvin Beachum may think he's a $7 million player, and on the first day of free agency, he might be shopping himself for $7 million. But we don't think that. And then on Thursday or Friday, he'll realize that he's not a $7 million player. And if the Titans are offering $4 million, he realizes if I don't take that now, then I may not get any money. And then he takes it. What do you have?
Ian Rappaport reporting the Bears are securing their offensive line, signing former Titans guard Nate Davis to a 3-year deal.
Do we know how much money?
I have not seen money yet.
You want to take a guess? The Ben Powers got 30. I think Ben Powers got 13 a year.
I would say Nate's probably, 11? 10, 11?
I think 10's probably about right.
Yeah.
And again, here's the thing that's crazy about the cap, which is fake, but you have to spend, I think it's like 94% of the salary cap over a 4 or 5 year period in order to be cap compliant. You have to spend X amount of dollars of that cap. So right now, the Bears, who don't spend any money, are actually looking for big contracts that have big cap hits so that they can get up there. That's part of the reason why they traded for DJ Moore, because they want cap hits. And so we'll see that on the Nate Davis front, but I don't think that's much of a loss. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025 if you want to get in on this. Okay, Vanderbilt got left out of the NCAA tournament. If anything happens with the Titans, we will kind of focus in on that. By the way, I think, let me get back to the Davis thing for a second. I think a lot of you out there probably worry about losing Nate Davis a lot more than I think I worry about losing Nate Davis. And a lot more probably than Mike Vrabel worries about losing Nate Davis. Because just what I had heard was that Vrabel didn't like Nate Davis very much. But we'll get back to it. Vanderbilt, I thought, got screwed yesterday by the NCAA Tournament Committee. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
Blown out in one game against a team that's just flat out better than you.
And your source for Nashville sports.
How many needs are you going to create for yourself this offseason?
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen. Al Gill here from my friends at Dunkin'. Warm up and feel the love with Dunkin'. Treat yourself and a loved one to a brown butter toffee hot or iced latte, which is superb paired with the bacon avocado tomato sandwich. Be sure to try the all-new stuffed biscuit bites. It's a warm biscuit dough wrapped around a mixture of bacon, scrambled egg, and cheddar cheese. Visit us at our newly remodeled Dunkin' on Briley Parkway in Nashville or the new Dunkin' in Mount Juliet and our other locations throughout Middle Tennessee. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
All of us at Cromwell Media, who owns this radio station, are recognizing two special teammates this month. Andrea Kamer is celebrating her 16th year as our corporate business manager. It's no secret, Andrea is the glue that holds everything together around here. And we're saluting Caroline Fenton, one of our stellar co-hosts of the Midday Show on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, as she wraps up her second year with us. Andrea and Caroline, you are what makes this a special place to work. Want to join our team? Send us a note at together@cromwellmedia.com.
Your Game Center update.
Hi, I'm Chase McCabe. We start off on the trade market. Trey Wingo is reporting that Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback of Green Bay, will be traded to the New York Jets. However, no compensation has been reported as of yet. Went on to free agency as the legal tampering window has officially opened. Some of the big signings are Jimmy Garoppolo will sign with the Raiders, according to reports. Former 49ers right tackle Mike McGlinchey will sign with the Denver Broncos on a 5-year deal worth $87.5 million with over $50 million guaranteed. Elsewhere, Javon Hargrove leaves the Eagles and signs with the 49ers on a 4-year deal. And the Lions are signing Cam Sutton on a 3-year contract. And then finally, former Jags offensive tackle Jawan Taylor will sign with the Kansas City Chiefs for 4 years, $80 million with $60 guaranteed. And they're planning to play him at left tackle, which likely means that Orlando Brown will move on. Also, after missing the NCAA tournament, Vanderbilt will host Yale in the opening round of the NIT after being named a 3 seed. That game will be at 8 tomorrow night at Memorial Gym, with pregame coverage on 93.3 Classic Hits at 7:30. I'm Chase McKay with the Game Center update on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Free agency today. We will keep you updated where, again, we're still waiting on whether or not anybody else will report that the Packers and the Jets have completed the trade, because Trey Wingo's reported it, but Adam Schefter hasn't reported it, and Ian Rappaport says that there isn't a done deal yet. And so we'll keep our eyes on that. The Bears have signed Nate Davis to a 3-year deal, according to Ian Rappaport. Now, here's the thing. When you see a guy says that they signed a 3-year deal, what's that tell you? Agents are the ones who tell these insiders about who's doing what and who's signed for what and everything else. And so if a guy signs for a bunch of money, even if it's one of those fake like Geno Smith contracts from last week, it's like, we signed for $100 trillion. So the fact that we just see the Bears are signing Nate Davis to a 3-year contract, I don't think means that it's necessarily for a bunch of money. But good for them. Their line stunk. And so now they'll have him playing next to Mike McGlinchey. I do not think Vrabel was a fan of Nate Davis. I was not a huge fan of Nate Davis. Now the Bears are also signing star linebacker Tremaine Edmonds from the Buffalo Bills. So again, Buffalo signed a guard today, but they're going to lose him. And I think they're going to lose Jordan Poyer, the safety. And the Bills regressed last year, and so we'll keep our eye on that. And if anything else comes down the pipe, we'll make sure you know about it. But yesterday somebody tweeted me and said, I know I know this is a big day for football, but are you going to talk about what happened to Vandy yesterday and Vanderbilt not making the tournament? And yes, I am. Now, I am not a bracketologist. In fact, I wasn't even really all that good of a math student. So I'm not going to sit there and tell you that Joe Lunardi was wrong and Jerry Palm was wrong and the metrics were wrong and everybody that was saying Vanderbilt wasn't going to make the tournament yesterday. But I do think Vanderbilt got robbed, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I've been watching basketball for almost 30 years, and I was a Vanderbilt fan growing up, but if you listen to the show enough, I think you can agree with me that for the most part, I for the most part, am not some kind of huge Vanderbilt apologist, if you listen to this show. Especially when it comes to Jerry Stackhouse, because I expect better. But what happened to me was I remember about 6 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, weeks ago, Vandy started to win a couple of these games. They beat Tennessee with that last-second shot. They beat Auburn with a last-second shot. And all the basketball Benjamins around here that cover the team started talking about how Vandy was an NCAA tournament team. And I kept going to Bubble Watch, and I kept going to Bracketology, and I kept going to these things to look to see if Vandy was mentioned, and they weren't. And I just thought it was some local boboery of, Vandy should be in the tournament mix. And then I started watching Vandy more consistently. And at the end of the year, Vanderbilt started winning every freaking game. And they weren't just beating nobodies. They were beating good teams. And they said during the Kentucky broadcast, with the game at Kentucky, they said that what they were doing, they said if Vanderbilt beats Kentucky and beats Mississippi State on Saturday and Vanderbilt wins 2 games in the SEC tournament, they're probably in. They said it on the TV broadcast. So I believed it. Then Vandy beat Mississippi State, a bubble team. So you get to play a bubble team head-to-head right before the SEC tournament. And they beat them. Then, all of a sudden, they beat LSU, the one team that everybody told me Vanderbilt wasn't going to make the tournament because of. They said, hey, they're not going to make this tournament because that loss to LSU was a bad loss. Well, they played LSU and they beat them. Now, all of a sudden, they had creeped into Joe Lunardi with the last 4 in, first 4 out, next 4 out.com, whatever. North Carolina lost. Clemson lost. NC State lost. Mississippi State had to go to overtime to beat that crap Florida team, and then they lost. And so here's Vanderbilt on Friday night against Kentucky. And the way it was presented to me, and clearly this was wrong. I mean, I'm not even sure if they had beaten A&M on Saturday if they would have made the tournament. But it was presented to me like if Vanderbilt beats Kentucky, then they're going to the tournament. I thought it was a play into the playoff. And boy, Vandy played great. And that point guard, he's a freaking dog. And those players, I mean, this Vanderbilt team, I've been watching basketball for 30 years. This Vanderbilt team, I think, could legitimately make it to the Elite Eight. That's how much I believe in what I've watched over the last 4 weeks or however long it's been since I've started watching Vandy play. And they had 21 wins, and they had a high strength of schedule, and they had a bunch of quad 1 wins and everything else. But there's this one number that Vandy stunk at. It was called the net. Now, I don't even know what the net is. But that's the one number that Vandy apparently was an 81. And I guess Rutgers a couple years ago, or maybe even last year, Rutgers had like a similar scenario, but their net was 71, and they got in, and that's the lowest team that ever got in the history of the net. Then I watched the selection show last night, and I realized these bozos did not pay attention to anything that happened over the weekend. None of these conference tournament games mattered, except Kansas losing to Texas. If Kansas had beaten Texas, I think Kansas would have been the number 1 overall seed in this tournament. That's it. So it didn't matter that Vanderbilt beat Kentucky, and I don't think it would have mattered if Vanderbilt had beaten Texas A&M. I just think the committee sorted it out by the numbers and then probably took, the 4 teams, the last 4 in and the first 4 out, and they took those 8 teams and they debated them. But what they didn't do is I don't think they ever even gave Vandy a chance. And that's a good basketball team. I'm sitting there seeing Mississippi State's in the tournament. I watch Vanderbilt beat Mississippi State, and I'm thinking to myself, why play? Why play the games? Why play neutral court games in a conference tournament? Why play? This Vanderbilt team is good enough to win in the NCAA tournament. Now, Stackhouse said that he thinks they could beat anybody. I don't agree with that. But this team's good enough to make it into the NCAA tournament. And I've listened to about 6 different interviews that Chris Reynolds, the head of the committee, that he did, whether it was here on CBS or whether it was, NCAA.com or whatever it may be. I listened to a couple interviews that he did. And listening to the interviews of the committee chair was like when you call your cable provider. It's hard enough to get in touch with a live person. But then every time you ask them something, it's like a pathway down a corridor in which they don't really explain the answer. And what they tell you doesn't totally make sense, but I guess you could apply it to that one situation. So in one case, they said, Rutgers had too many quad 3 losses, so that's why they're out. Well, Clemson had too many, didn't play a good enough out-of-conference schedule, so that's why they're out. This team didn't beat enough good teams, so that's why they're out. But ultimately what I think it is I think they take the net, we got this number right here, the net. They take it, and they just click it. And they have it sort, from top to bottom. And then when they get right there around, team number 64, 65, 67, 66, 68, whatever it may be, when they get right there, then they say, okay, who do we think is better between all of these teams? And Vandy's net was so low that I don't think they even considered them. I don't think if Vanderbilt had beaten A&M and played Alabama in a close game on Sunday, I don't think Vanderbilt would have made that tournament. That's how far out they were. They won 21 freaking games. They're the only team in the SEC that had to play Kentucky twice, Alabama twice, Tennessee twice. And they split those games. You added the 2 they had to play against Florida, they were above 500 in that. And again, it's well documented. I'm not the biggest Jerry Stackhouse fan in the world. I have been on his tush for the last 2 years. I don't think he does enough to sell the program. I don't think he does enough to get the fan base excited. Quite frankly, I don't think he wins enough. But he deserved a better fate. This Vanderbilt team deserved to be in the NCAA tournament. And I don't need to go down the rabbit hole that Willie's gone down. If you look at his Twitter, it's like all these spreadsheets that he's handwritten about, this quality of wins versus the quad 2s. And I don't care about any of that. I just have watched basketball for 30 years, and I know an NCAA tournament team for sure when I see one. And I see the teams that the league put in, or that the committee put in from the league, and I've seen Vandy beat those teams. And I know that 20 wins is usually kind of the line of demarcation, and they had 21 wins. And they've got a RPI or whatever it is that's good enough to get them in, but it's just this net ranking. And all day, I kept saying, because the bracketologists were saying, Vandy's right on the cut line. And Bubble Watch said it's one game, that one loss to LSU is why Vandy won't get in. That one loss Saturday to A&M is why Vandy won't get in. And I just don't think that that's true. And I have never, ever, ever been the guy. This is the first time in my life that I have ever been the guy who has defended team number 69, team number 70, one of those. Because every year there's a team that complains that they didn't get into the NCAA tournament, and every year I'm like, it's your own fault. And Vandy screwed up, no doubt about it. You can't lose to freaking Grambling State. So it's not like Vanderbilt didn't do some of this to themselves. But at the same time, I've seen enough. This is the first time. Louisville didn't make the tournament. They were one of the last 4 out in 2018. And I don't think they made the tournament in 2021. and they were bubble teams. And I remember people were very upset about that. And again, that's my alma mater. And I was like, look, they screwed it up. They did this to themselves. This is the one team that I felt like really deserved a better fate. And then to see that they weren't even first 4 out, my goodness. Did we figure out what seed they are in the NIT? We know they're a 2, but are they the first 2, so that would have made them the 5th team out? Are they the 8th team out, the 6th team out? Do we have any idea?
I've been trying to find that answer, and I can't get a definitive answer. I know everything has said that they weren't even the first 4 out.
Yeah, they weren't even first 4 out.
So, I mean, I would assume that they're somewhere in that next 4.
Unbelievable. And that team that played Friday night at that game, played basically a road game, that was a good team. That was a good team. And they weren't even first 4 out. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get to your phones on this, 615-737-1025. And the one that I do have to be a little negative, there is one negative element of this for Vanderbilt that all the Joe Rex Roads of the world are going to need to hear. They're not going to accept it, but they're going to need to hear it, and we'll do that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at noon.
That fits the mentality of what they're going to do.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace to talk all things Titans and NFL.
Much more creative in how you go about calling certain plays.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
That doesn't mean that you can't have great or don't need great quarterback play.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota, like the best-selling Toyota Tacoma, with powerful off-road capabilities and the best resale value in its class. Now through April 4th, you can get low 3.99 APR financing on a new 2023 Tacoma, with approved credit through TFS, excludes TRD Pro. And every new Toyota comes with 2 years no-cost maintenance included. Get complete details at buyatoyota.com. Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Are you a fan of Twin Peaks? Sign up for the Twin Peaks E-Club and stay up to date on all things Twin Peaks. As a friend of the Peaks Club, you'll score free stuff and be updated on upcoming events and promotions. Visit TwinPeaksRestaurant.com and sign up today.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knezvik here for Superbook Sports. And listen, make 2023 the year you beat Vegas. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting lines for American sports, just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, check out some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. Download the Superbook Sportsbook app or visit superbook.com to start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789.
If you've experienced a concussion, the injury can result in temporary chemical changes inside the brain that can cause it to function improperly. The signs and symptoms may occur immediately or take several days to appear. The experienced doctors at Houston Clinic Orthopedics can diagnose your concussion and get you feeling back to normal with therapy and rehabilitative exercises. If you experience head injury signs such as headache, dizziness, nausea, sensitivity, ringing in ears, or problems with memory, balance, vision, or concentration, visit tn.houston.com to learn more and to book an appointment. Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I think they thought they were in that locker room after the game, and I kind of did too. I'm like, man, I just feel like this team is playing too well now, and it's too many good performances and wins without Liam Robbins for that to be a big deal. I think if they would have beat Texas A&M, they still would have been left out. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Like if they would have beat Texas A&M, and then they play Alabama yesterday and lose, but let's say it's like a decent game. I think most people are like, okay, well, they'll be a 10 seed.
Yeah.
And I think they would have been left out, which is what happened to Texas A&M last year. So I know some people say the conference tournaments don't mean anything. Well, I mean, you can look at a lot of teams in the bracket right now and see some impact from conference tournaments if they had, games that meant a lot. But that's some serious disrespect for Vanderbilt.
There you go. That was Joe earlier this morning about Vanderbilt. I could not believe that they were first four out. I mean, or not first four out. When they put that up there on the board, I think it was pretty obvious to me that Vanderbilt, probably by the time we got through the second region, when A&M came down the pipe as a 7 seed, I think it was pretty obvious that Vanderbilt wasn't going to make the NCAA tournament. And so I looked at it and I said, okay, let's see where they ended up. Because even Lenardi, who had been dumping on Vandy for as long as he had, even Lenardi had them as a first four out, and they weren't even there. And, I mean, they might have been 5, they might have been 8 out. And that, to me, is crazy when they beat all the teams that they beat in February and March. Now, there was a quote in the Gentry Estes article, his column in the Tennessean, that came from Jordan Wright. And I think this is kind of important because they're talking about the fact that Vanderbilt's not very good in October, November, and December. And Jordan Wright said, quote, Coach Stackhouse takes an NBA approach to this. Early in the season, we play a lot of guys. We play a lot of different rotations. We try to get a feel for his best 5 and who he wants to come off the bench and give us minutes. And so basically that's the NBA approach of, we'll figure it out as we go along, and then come the playoffs, we'll know who's good and we'll know who's not and which lineups work for our team, and that's what we'll do. Well, I hate to break it to Jerry, but you can't do that anymore because you got to win in November and December. Those games matter now. I mean, every single one of them. And I'm sure that Jerry Stackhouse wasn't going into the Grambling State game and saying, well, this doesn't matter because it's early in the season. But next year, I mean, you better win those November and December games. It doesn't matter you play in March or February anymore. And that's actually the SEC's doing. That is the SEC who decided that because Mike Slive, former commissioner, used to say it's ridiculous to look at the last 10 games and decide whether or not somebody should make it to the tournament because of the last 10 games. It should be the whole season worth of work. So the SEC did that to themselves. Now, I am a little surprised that we didn't get some kind of something from Greg Sankey after Vandy got left out, because usually Sankey, and we may see something, we may see him say something, but normally Sankey gets pretty upset when a team gets left out. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joel says, Vandy had a good run at the end, but they weren't even a consensus first 4 out. Early bad losses and key injury cost them. So I don't know how the injury to Liam Robbins could have cost them because they won every game except for the A&M game after he got hurt. They beat Kentucky twice and Mississippi State without Liam Robbins. So I don't think it was the injury. I think it was the net ranking. And the one thing I'll say is just because the committee themselves didn't have Vandy as a first 4 out team, which a lot of people that think that Vanderbilt shouldn't have made the tournament use against them. They weren't even first 4 out. That does not mean that they didn't get screwed. They got screwed. Luther has been waiting patiently. He's up next. What's up, Luther?
Jared, let me see. The Nets 80 and 81. You handle your business against Grambling State.
Why do I care about the net? Why do I care about the net?
But here's the thing, though.
Answer the question, Luther. Why do I care about the net?
I don't care about the net either, but that's what they put up there.
So why are we caring about the net?
Look, I don't care about the net. I thought Vandy should have been in too.
Okay, thank you.
When you lose to Grambling State in Southern Mississippi in the early part of your non-conference schedule and you finish up 7-6 before conference play, this is why you're sitting as a 3 in the NIT playing Gale tomorrow night at 8 o'clock.
So they're actually a 2. I mean, so when the NIT put out the bracket, thank you for your call, Luther. When the NIT put out the bracket, and look, let me say this, and you can hear that game tomorrow, 8 o'clock on 93.3 Classic Hits. If I didn't have something else going on, I would, I've been to NIT games at Memorial Gym, so I'm not telling you not to go, and I'm not saying that the NIT doesn't mean something to other people. I don't give a rat's ass about the NIT. And what I mean by that is if Vandy loses tomorrow, to me, that doesn't change the fact that they belonged in the tournament. If Vanderbilt gets to Madison Square Garden and they're playing in the NIT championship game, I'm probably not going to care much about that either. Like, to me, that's like an exhibition. That's like a bowl game or like the Pro Bowl or something like that. Like, I don't care. So I know, and I'm not telling you don't go, and I'm not telling you not to care, but I don't care. So, but apparently they were actually a 2 seed and not a 3 seed. Michigan is actually the 3 seed, and Vandy is actually the 2 seed in the NIT. But the original NIT bracket came out, and Vandy was a 3 seed. So, again, and I believe the NIT is based on the NCAA's rankings. So, Vanderbilt was somewhere between the 5th team out and the 8th team out. So,
it's actually in Vegas this year, too.
It's not an MSG anymore?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. The last year was the last year it was going to be an MSG for a while. So they moved it to Vegas.
Does MSG not want it anymore?
I have no idea. I guess they're trying to get a little more. It's like, oh, Vegas is the it thing now. So
they're like, no, we don't want the backup basketball tournament anymore in our building. We'd rather just have a regular Knicks game. We'll end up drawing more people over.
So if Jared Stillman was on the committee and you're sitting there and you're trying to make your decision, because I agree with what Luther said, that I do think they factored in Grambling and Southern Miss, those losses. But do you care what they did at the beginning of the season as opposed to what they did at the end of the season?
I mean, I think that what you do at the end of the season is more important than what you do at the beginning of the season.
I agree.
I do think that what happens at the beginning of the season should matter. I mean, it's the season. You know, it's not like it's the preseason. I don't think it's that. I think my beef with kind of this whole situation is I don't think the committee watches the games. I don't think these people actually watch the games. And that's all I want is just watch the freaking games. Like, that's what I want you to do. And I cannot imagine if an NCAA tournament committee member was at that game Friday night that I was at. There is no way that I could envision that they would have kept Vandy out of that tournament. That if they had been at Memorial Gym like I was for that Mississippi State game, that they would have kept Vanderbilt out. And that's what bothers me probably about this more than anything, is the idea that I believe that the committee just looks at the numbers and they just say, oh, well, the numbers tell us this team's the best, so they're in. I don't think they watch the games. And then that pisses me off because I'm like, why do we even play? Like, Houston got crushed yesterday in the AAC championship. I'm sorry, I forgot Memphis was just, really. And they're still ahead of Kansas. And the other thing, too, that just drives me crazy, I watched the first half yesterday of the SEC tournament inside the bowl, and they just kept having on the ribbon board at the bottom of the court, and it just kept saying, like, 7 quad 1 wins, 6 top 30 Ken Palm teams, 7 quad 1 wins for Alabama. And it's like, that is for the committee. Like, they want to watch the game, see a guy dribbling the ball up the court, and they want to put where they are giving up valuable advertising space to say A&M has 7 quad 1 wins. That's so stupid. I hate all that stuff. I freaking hate it. 615-737-1025, and it's only going to get worse in football now, too. 615-737-1025. Back to NFL free agency. We have the numbers on Nate Davis, plus some of the other signings that have happened. And by the way, I think these Nate Davis numbers are actually pretty surprising. And it probably confirms what I've been trying to tell you guys. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Souls for Souls on June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebrities to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at theGameNashville.com/golf.
This is Colton Sissons, and this is Smashville.
Leads now, Sissons coming on from the left circle, and Colton Sissons puts it in the net.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Have you seen the selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches they now have at Genesis Diamonds? If not, prepare to be amazed.
If people really know the watch world, they come in and they're in shock. They're like, I cannot believe you have this selection here. They're able to see them, touch them, feel them.
Meet Genesis watch expert Charlie Rivers, who says over the past few years, Genesis buyers have scoured the world to build a collection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes, including all the hard-to-find models.
Daytonas, Pandas, Sky Dwellers, a huge selection of Submariners, Hulks, Kermits, anything that you could ever possibly want. We have every luxury pre-owned Rolex that we have here. We ensure that it's in pristine condition.
So come in today and find the timepiece of your dreams at Genesis. Or if you already own a Rolex and are looking to trade for a different model or even sell it, Genesis can help you get top dollar.
If you have a Rolex, definitely bring it in. I would love to see it and do a complimentary evaluation on it and see what we can do for you.
Genesis Diamonds, now with one of the largest selections of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in America. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
It's that time of year. The insanity, the madness, the tournament, the ingrates showing up at your house to watch the games and eat all your food. You want to be a good host, but you don't want to be rooting around in your refrigerator. Central Barbecue has the solution. Bulk order some Central Barbecue deliciousness and pick it up before those animals show up. Go to eatcbq.com and order what you need to feed the crowd and let Central Barbecue do the heavy lifting. This year, show your friends you care about them. Feed them Central Barbecue. 2 locations in Hillsborough and Capitol View. Smoke is our sauce.
Do you take pride in your work? Do you want to help build Nashville? You need to join Ironworkers Local 492. They build Nashville, working on everything from steel erection on buildings and bridges, plant maintenance, concrete, reinforcing, conveyor work, sheeting, welding, rigging, fence erecting, curtain wall, window wall, and a variety of other specialty work. They provide the best skilled iron workers for contractors and projects in Nashville. If you want to build Nashville, you want to be proud of doing it, visit ironworkers492.org. Join Ironworkers Local 492.
If you've experienced a concussion, the injury can result in temporary chemical changes inside the brain that can cause it to function improperly. The signs and symptoms may occur immediately or take several days to appear. The experienced doctors at Houston Clinic Orthopedics can diagnose your concussion and get you feeling back to normal with therapy and rehabilitative exercises. If you experience head injury signs such as headache, dizziness, nausea, sensitivity, ringing in ears, or problems with memory, balance, vision, or concentration, visit tn.houston.com to learn more and to book an appointment. Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
All of us at Cromwell Media, who owns this radio station, are recognizing 2 special teammates this month. Andrea Kamer is celebrating her 16th year as our corporate business manager. It's no secret, Andrea is the glue that holds everything together around here. And we're saluting Caroline Fenton, one of our stellar co-hosts of the midday show on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, as she wraps up her 2nd year with us. Andrea and Caroline, you are what makes this a special place to work. Want to join our team? Send us a note at together@cromwellmedia.com.
When you want live and local.
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey, this is Pete Weber. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
You mentioned offensive line, Mike. I mean, how big a challenge is it? You could potentially have as many as 3 new starters next year.
Could have 5, Jimmy. I don't know. I'm not into prediction business. I don't know, but I know that we're going to find guys that exhibit the way that we want to play within the framework of the rules, and that they finish and they value staying between their man and a quarterback.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel at the Combine, and he said might be 5 new starters. And a lot of people, I was noticing the text line in the last hour when Nate Davis signed with the Bears. A lot of people are like, oh, great, now we lost Nate Davis. What are we going to do? And I think the Nate Davis contract, the numbers have come out. I think this confirms what I've been kind of trying to tell you all for a little bit now, and that's that Vrabel never liked Nate Davis. Nate Davis, 3 years with the Chicago Bears, $10 million per season. $10 million per season, 19.25 guaranteed. What that means is the first 2 years of the 3-year deal are guaranteed. And again, it's a 3-year, $30 million deal, $10 million per season. If you liked Nate Davis, you could have easily paid Nate Davis $10 million a year. I mean, I'm not one to pay guards a bunch of money, but again, $10 million is not that much money in the NFL. $10 million. Like, you paid Zach Cunningham that kind of money last year. So if you really liked Nate Davis, you just released Ben Jones, and that was $8 million worth of cash, which is way more important than the cap. But $8 million in cash, you just released Ben Jones. You easily could have signed Nate Davis. And so somebody told me at the end of the season, yeah, Vrabel hates Nate Davis. Then Jim Wyatt put out in his mailbag right before the Super Bowl, somebody said, Jim, are we going to re-sign Nate Davis? And Jim Wyatt wrote in there, I don't think that's very likely to happen. And I interpreted that. That was a very good Jim Wyatt impersonation. But
terrible.
But that to me was a red flag that clearly what I had heard on the back end that Vrabel hates Nate Davis. Clearly, that was the case if Jim Wyatt feels a month before free agency, the freedom to be able to write in there, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. And then on top of it, the Titans could have paid him $10 million to keep him, and they didn't. Normally, if there's a guy on your team that you like, you'll pay him $10 million to stay unless he's the kicker. You'll pay a receiver $10 million to stay if you like him. You'll pay a tight end $10 million a year to stay if you like him. You'll pay a quarterback, a running back, a tackle. You'll pay a safety. You pay both your safeties more than $10 million. You'll pay an inside linebacker. You'll pay an outside linebacker. You'll pay a corner. You will pay every position. If you like them, if you think they're a good player, you will pay them $10 million a year to stay. 20 is where it starts to get hairy. Like, you better be a great player if you're 20. Now, 15, you need to be consistently a good player, and I need to like you and not have to spend the money somewhere else. 10, if I like you, you're on the team. And the Titans didn't even want to give him that. And the Titans how are they going to fill all these spots? What I am telling you is that while you all look at Nate Davis and you see him go to the Bears, and I think the Bears think, our offensive line stunk last year. We're going to draft somebody with the 9th overall pick. We've got McGlinchey at right tackle. We've got Nate Davis at right guard. We are going to buy Justin Fields at offensive line. We just got DJ Moore to play receiver. We are going to have a team around him that we like. But at the same time, I think that they look at Nate Davis like, he started for the Titans for the last 4 years. He must be good. And they're only paying him $10 million. Now, here's the other thing, too. Nate Davis started 12 games this past season. Last year, he started 14. Now, the year before that, he started all 16, and he started 12 as a rookie, which means Nate Davis is good for about 3 to 4 misses a season. What have we learned about Vrabel and injuries and second repeaters and all kinds of stuff? He's not interested in that either. But I've been trying to tell you guys that I don't think that the Titans ever wanted Nate Davis back. And when it was $10 million, I'm telling you, they don't want him back. The Falcons are signing Bengal safety Jesse Bates. Adam Schefter reports a 4-year, $64 million contract, which includes $23 million in year one. That doesn't matter. And $36 million in year 2 of the deal. So let's see, $32 million. So it's basically a 4-year deal. The first 2 years are probably guaranteed. So that's what they're going to do with Jesse Bates. He's the 4th highest paid safety in NFL history. So the Bengals.
Is he that good?
I mean, he's pretty good.
He's pretty good, but is he that good?
So here's what's happened. So the Falcons, I think, are a fascinating thing because the Falcons are spending money right now, right? Like, they just signed a guard for $100 million. By the way, guard market, Nate Davis, $10 million. The Falcons just signed one of their guards to $21 million a season. So obviously Nate Davis wasn't all that good. But I think the point here, as far as the Falcons are concerned, the Falcons have all kinds of money to spend because they don't have Matt Ryan anymore. They don't have Julio Jones anymore. And so they have all kinds of money to spend. They desperately want a quarterback, but I actually think that they're going to roll with Ritter. Like, I think that they're going to roll with Desmond Ritter, and so they can pay a bunch of guys and just make sure that they're not paying them 3 years from now in case they have to pay Ritter a bunch of money. And if they're paying Jesse Bates for 2 years, and if they're paying Jonnu Smith for 2 years, and if they're paying all these guys for 2 years, then it will even out the budget by the time they have to pay Desmond Ridder if Desmond Ridder is actually good. And the thing that we don't know about is we don't know if Desmond Ridder is good. We don't know. Russ in Columbia texts in and says, it's time to bring offensive lineman Shaq Mason home to Middle Tennessee. So I didn't know Shaq Mason was from here, but apparently he is. Shaq Mason is a Tom Brady guy, New England Patriots. Then Brady asked the Buccaneers to trade for him, and it's been reported, I think Shaq Mason makes about $8 million a year. It's been reported that if Tampa Bay can't find a taker, they'll cut him. My guess is the Titans look at the free agent market at guard, and they look at things like this. A team doesn't want to pay Shaq Mason $8 million. The Buffalo Bills just let Roger Saffold walk in free agency to sign Connor McGovern to, I think, $8.5 million a year to play guard for them. The point being that I think the Titans are looking at it saying, well, once all the top guys sign, and they'll sign for the $19 million, $13 million, now Nate Davis is signing for $10 million, the second-tier guys will realize by tomorrow that the $10 million and the $15 million and the $16 millions are all gone. So now you need to go ahead and you need to take the $8 million or the $6 million, and then the Titans will probably go to the next step, which is we'll take the $4 million guy. Now, you would look at it and say, well, the $10 million guy is going to be better than the $4 million guy. I think the Titans look at it and say the difference between the $10 million guy and the $4 million guy is really that the $10 million guy is really a $5 million guy. That's my gut. And so that's what they're going to do. And I think what they're thinking is we could sign one guy for $15 million, or we could sign three guys for $15 million, and the one guy that we would pay $15 million to is better than all three guys, but is not better than the accumulation of the three guys. And I think they also want to leave themselves open to being able to pick a tackle in the first round. So I'm not panicking about any of this. I'm not upset about any of it. I'm not one way or another. I am fine as far as the Titans are concerned with their inactivity so far today. Chip from Mount Juliet says, maybe Lamar to the Falcons? Don't think so. And it's definitely not going to happen until after the draft. Because if they were to sign Lamar Jackson as a non-exclusive franchise tag player, they would have to give up the 8th overall pick in this year's draft. And I am telling you that they are not interested in giving up the 8th overall pick in next year's draft. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. Here's the thing I wonder, is I do, and we'll, again, go through some of this stuff in free agency so far, but there's one thing that I really wonder about the Titans. And we'll get to that coming up next, plus more of your phones, 615-737-1025. TriStar Moving, they're my official mover. I moved over 2 years ago with TriStar, and it was one of the greatest decisions that I've ever made. Why? Because the process was so easy, and their movers were so great. And so I always tell this, if you're going to move, get a bid. Why? Because moving's expensive. So just like everything else in your house that you're going to have done, you want to get a bid. And you should want to get a bid with TriStar Moving. And once you get a bid from them, I already know you're going to go with them. So just trust me on this. Call my friends at TriStar, 615-640-1219, or visit them online at nashvillemoving.org/radio. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you, and you'll get 10% off your entire move. And 10% is a lot of money in a move, so I'm trying to help you out here. That's nashvillemoving.org/radio. Again, 615-640-1219 for TriStar Moving. That's TriStar Moving. Again, I moved with them. I freaking love them. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Matich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hi guys, it's Mark with Hillside Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, we have a major medical advancement that has helped thousands of men. Our wave technology is backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge University. It's been shown to increase blood flow by repairing blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us now, and not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, but will also include something unique that produces powerful results in the bedroom. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. This unprecedented offer is worth $600, but it's free to those who call in the next 2 minutes. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knezvik here for Superbook Sports. And listen, make 2023 the year you beat Vegas. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting lines for American sports, just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, check out some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. Download the Superbook Sportsbook app or visit superbook.com to start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
Your company's hiring. Who isn't? We would love to show you how to use 1025 The Game to attract and retain employees. We can also help you find the exact person you're looking for with a targeted digital campaign. You can trust our team to help you build your team. Email us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezvik and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
As long as he wants to coach there, he will be able to coach there.
I think that really did save the hope of this team.
Michelle and Junie, presented by Superbook Sports, every Saturday morning at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The financial constraints that you have in 6 picks enough?
Sure. I'm never going to say that it's not enough. I don't know any different. We're all at the same point. You know, nobody's going to win. Somebody's going to win March, and they're going to, they had the best free agent class. I'm pretty sure that the Chiefs didn't win March in free agency. But, they developed and continue to improve. And, that's just, I guess, we were a little different this year. I felt like we grinded out some games, lost a close one here or there. But, when we normally had been at our best and finding ways to improve, we just weren't able to do it this year, which was reflective of, how we finished the season.
There you go, Mike Vrabel. And I thought it was funny when he was like, I'm sure that the Chiefs didn't win March last year, and so winning March isn't that big of a deal. And this is why I should have done debate in high school, because I hear that and I'm like, who did win March last year? Jacksonville. The team that spent all the money in March, it was Jacksonville. And Jacksonville did get some quality players now, and we can laugh at Christian Kirk, but he helped them. Evan Ingram helped them. Aluakon, the middle linebacker that led the NFL in tackles, he helped them. So I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but I think that the approach of, whoever wins in March is going to not win the Super Bowl. As long as you spend appropriately, that's what matters. LD from McMinnville texts into the text line, says, I'm on board with the Titans not being big free agent spenders, but I hope fans brace for big impact. They will not be good next season, but sometimes you have to take a step back in order to take a few steps forward. And I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that. Because why do the Titans have to take a step back? I think everybody is convinced that the Titans are not going to be good this upcoming season. Or at least I feel like I hear a lot of cynicism. This belief that, last year the season didn't go the way they thought it would go, and because of that, now everything's bad. And I don't believe in that. And I don't know why a lot of you all believe in that. I mean, I yelled and screamed at you all on Friday for all these fans that were sitting there talking about how I'm not interested in being 9-8 again next year. And I'm like, if you just get serviceable offensive linemen and another receiver and the players you already have stay healthy, unlike last season, Don't you think you're 2 minutes and 50 seconds better than you were a year ago when that's how much you missed the playoffs by? Don't you think just a little bit? Christopher is up next and has been waiting patiently. What's up, Christopher?
Yeah, hey, look, I realize this is far-fetched, and I know this is not where you want to go, but if I own the team, and if I'm looking at the number of needs Titans have, and if I'm about to build a stadium, and if I'm a team that's never had a generational quarterback, and I think that maybe the quickest path to the top is not back up but through, might I position my team to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes?
All right, let me ask you this question, Christopher. What are you going to do when you end up with the 5th pick in next year's draft?
With the 5th pick?
Yes.
Well,
if you actively, that's my point. If you actively try to lose and you end up with the 5th pick or you end up with the 4th pick, just like how the Houston Texans won the last game of the year this past year, and they're not picking first, and now the Carolina Panthers are, what are you going to do? So you just threw away a whole season. You just threw away a whole season. You've probably fired your coach because if the team is that bad, you're going to fire Mike Vrabel because you won't have a choice. And now you still aren't going to be able to get the pick in order to draft the quarterback that you want. In fact,
like I said, I know.
In fact, can you give me an instance over the last decade where a team has purposely tried to lose and ended up with the number 1 overall pick?
No, not off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you for your call. Like if you go back to 2019, the Miami Dolphins literally were trying to do exactly what you're saying. The Miami Dolphins said, our team's not good enough. This group that we have had, which just coincidentally happened to be headlined by Ryan Tannehill, this group is not good enough. Now, they weren't even making the playoffs. Like, you made the AFC title game. You were the number 1 seed in the AFC. Like, you are much better than that Dolphins team. But they said, we're not doing enough. Let's strip it down. Let's tear it apart. Jarvis Landry leaves. Kenny Stills leaves. Ryan Tannehill leaves. Laramie Tunsil leaves. Minka Fitzpatrick leaves. All these guys end up leaving the Miami Dolphins. They end up putting together some ragtag group with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback, and because the Bengals just happened to suck worse. Like the Bengals just happened to be bad. The Bengals were not even trying to be bad, and they just happened to be so bad that they ended up with the number 1 pick, which was Joe Burrow. And Miami, who was trying to pick first, ended up picking 5th, and they've got Tua. So you see the point I'm trying to make? If you were to say, if the owner were to say, at least internally, hey, let's try to get to the top of the draft next year. One, I don't think Mike Vrabel would be on board with that. And all I ever hear the Titans talk about right now is alignment and collaboration. And I can't imagine Mike Vrabel saying, hey, let's stink on purpose. But again, even if the owner were to say, that's what we want to be this year, and they were to build the team that way, there is no guarantee that they would end up with the first pick. Even if they started Malik in every game they played this year, if the owner came down and said, I want Malik Willis to start at quarterback this year, now you're probably definitely picking in the top 3, but you may not be picking first. And so now you just threw away a season and you pissed off your fans and you don't end up with the quarterback. Is that what you want? Teams that pick first don't try to pick first. And that's normally why the coach who ends up getting their team the first pick normally gets fired. Because the team went into the year saying, we think we might be good this year, and then it ends up being what the Indianapolis Colts were this past season. So no, tanking's not an option. Justin in Greenbrier texts into the text line and says, I think all of Titans fandom needs to take a breather. If the Titans can let Rand Carthon, who seems to have a good passion for scouting and evaluating talent, do his thing, I think the Titans will have a good team this year. He is new to this, and I still think the Titans have some of the bad taste in their mouths from some of the moves John Robinson made. no reason to hit the panic button yet. Man, you guys love just crapping on John Robinson. And I think and I still, to this day, I think John Robinson did a good job. And I know you guys don't believe that, but I think he did. Now, again, they made some poor choices as far as free agency was concerned in the past, poor choices in the draft, the Julio Jones trade, all of those things. But I think you guys are crazy when you're sitting here talking about how, well, this is what I call fan anxiety. And I've had fan anxiety before. But I think the thing about fan anxiety is that there's this feeling that because you haven't done anything yet means that your plan is to do nothing. And I can promise you that the Titans' plan is not to run out no offensive line next year. That when they released Ben Jones, their plan is to have a center next year. Their plan is to have a right guard and a left guard next year. Their plan is to have a left tackle for next year. But I think a lot of people are probably worried about that because they think to themselves, oh, there's no way that this team's going to go out and get a left tackle because they didn't sign a left tackle right now. And I don't think that's their plan. By the way, every single guy that I targeted on Friday, as far as my free agency plan was concerned, Samson Ebukam and, I guess Cam Sutton has signed. But other than Cam Sutton, all of those guys, they're all still out there. Austin Hooper is still out there. Kelvin Beachum, the left tackle from Arizona, is still out there. Gabe Jackson, the guard from Seattle, is still out there. Those guys are still out there. So don't think that there's nobody out there. Chris says that's what I think Jim Irsay tried to do was stink so they could get the first pick and look at the situation they're in now. I don't think Jim Irsay tried to do that. I think Jim Irsay thought that with Matt Ryan coming in there with Frank Reich as the coach, they had a chance to win. Texter says, it sounds like, and this one I hope this isn't true. Texter says, sounds like the fan base would actually support a tank and be proud of the Titans for doing so. I'm hoping that's a minority feeling. I mean, some of the doom and gloom I hear from you guys, you know where it really drives me crazy, honestly? The midday show, where Derek's just like, as long as Tannehill's the quarterback, this team has no chance. There's no reason to go get any free agents. There's no reason to worry about the draft. There's no reason to do any of that because they need to go get a young quarterback, and it doesn't matter, and it's not. And every time I hear that, I'm like, they were 2 minutes and 50 seconds away from making the playoffs last year. It's like I heard Derek talking about how they need to move on from Derrick Henry. I know it'll hurt your feelings to move on from Derrick Henry, but they need to do it. I'm like, he made the Pro Bowl last year, was second in the NFL in rushing. Were you going up to Floyd's office and saying, hey, we got to trade Eddie George. We need to get a third-round pick or a fourth-round pick if we can for Eddie George. No. It was, hey, let's go out there and try to win. And that's what I think the Titans are going to be trying to do this year. Now, look, they were shopping Derrick Henry, so who knows? But, man, the doom and gloom. Texter says, let's say the Titans beat the Jags and made the playoffs. Can you honestly say the Titans would have beaten the Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs? The answer is no. Let me say this. Do I think that the Titans would have beaten the Chargers, the team that they would have played? Yes. I do think they would have beaten the Chargers at home. Do I think the Titans would have had a shot at Kansas City where they lost by 3 points on Sunday Night Football with Malik at quarterback when Patrick Mahomes sprained his ankle in the middle of the game? Yes. I do. I think that would have been a ball game. Jason Anderson hosts the midday show in Kansas City. He came on our show at the Super Bowl. He said, yeah, after that Sunday night game, we don't want to play Vrabel anymore. So don't tell me that you look at all these teams and say they can't be beat. You lost to Cincinnati and Kansas City, the two teams in the AFC Championship game over the last 2 years. You have lost to them by a combined 7 points this past season. Combined. It ain't that bad, guys. 615-737-1025. The first day of the legal tampering period is upon us. The biggest deal so far, we'll go over them. Plus, one deal we've been told is done that apparently nobody else says is done. We'll get to that too. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays. All the big big stories.
If you're not ready to play in this league, you will lose. I don't care who you're playing.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Because I love the sport.
We played the way we needed to.
Why would he make that move?
360, he slams it home. The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Gary Ashton here. People walk up to me all the time and say, don't sell without the intel. This message couldn't be more true. Right now, it's a fantastic time to buy or sell your home in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. No one has more intel than the Gary Ashton team. So what is this intel we keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without stagings or showings? Intel on where to find your next home so that you can sell your current home while the market is hot? And intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity. For more intel, visit GaryAshton.com, where we can give you the insight and the most up-to-date real estate intel in Nashville. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate team of the Nashville Predators. Get the confidence to sell your home and find the dream address without the stress. Visit us today at GaryAshton.com. That's GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Hey, Heather, when we ran into you and Mark the other day, you guys looked so happy.
Aw, thanks, Tiffany. We are.
Oh, I hate to say it, but Jim and I aren't doing very well lately.
Oh, what's going on?
Well, Jim's always tired. He never wants to do anything. When we try being intimate, he doesn't seem to be into it, at all. I wonder if he's even attracted to me anymore.
Oh my gosh, we had the same problem. I thought Mark was having an affair. Then we went to the Tennessee Men's Clinic and learned he just had a medical condition. The Tennessee Men's Clinic specializes in low testosterone and ED. And after some testing and treatments, our sex life is the best it's been in years.
Oh my goodness, that makes me feel better. Sounds like the Tennessee Men's Clinic is just what Jim needs. How does he get in contact?
It's easy. You can book appointments online or just give them a call.
Your first visit to the Tennessee Men's Clinic is only $99. They have multiple treatment options for low T and ED. Book your appointment today. Call 615-208-9090 or book online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Now, your Game Center update.
Hi, I'm Chase McCabe. Well, the legal tampering period is underway in the NFL, meaning free agency, just a couple of days away from officially opening. Reports are that former Titans guard Nate Davis will sign a 3-year deal worth $30 million with $19.25 million guaranteed with the Chicago Bears. Other signings include safety Jesse Bates going to the Falcons on a 4-year deal, $64.02 million, $23 million in year one. Patrick Peterson has signed reportedly with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Former 49ers right tackle Mike McGlinchey will sign with the Denver Broncos on a 5-year deal worth $87.5 million with over $50 million guaranteed. Elsewhere, Javon Hargrove leaves the Eagles and signs with the 49ers on a 4-year deal. And the Lions are signing Cam Sutton on a 3-year contract. And then finally, former Jags offensive tackle Jawan Taylor will sign with the Kansas City Chiefs for 4 years, $80 million with $60 guaranteed. And they're planning to play him at left tackle, which likely means that Orlando Brown will move on. I'm Chase McCabe with the Game Center update on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Bobby and Rex Road. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willie, D-Bay.
Stillman and Company. Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
102.5 and 106.3.
Crank City scores.
On both sides of the ball.
One big possession. Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. I'm just looking now. Apparently, Davante Adams put on Instagram. Jimmy Garoppolo is the new quarterback of the Raiders. Quote, "If we haven't talked in the last 3 weeks, don't hit me about this blank. Thanks." Is that like don't text me about Jimmy Garoppolo? Or is that him being mad at the Raiders? How do we interpret that?
I think the answer to that is yes. All of the above.
So we think that is like, hey, Jared Stillman, if you haven't talked to me in the last 3 weeks, don't come talking to me now about Jimmy Garoppolo.
Basically.
Or do you think that is you guys didn't talk to me in the last 3 weeks and then you go out and sign Jimmy Garoppolo?
I mean, I think it could go either way. I have a feeling he's pissed that they didn't go get Rodgers.
Well, I think Jimmy Garoppolo sucks. So I have thought for a long time. Well, but what they're doing is they're paying him $22 million. They were going to have to pay Derek Carr like $37 million or something. So they're probably telling themselves, hey, we're saving $15 million, and it's not that much of a step back. I think they thought they were going to get Tom Brady.
How much is this McDaniels trying to tell the Davises that, hey, look, I know Jimmy. I was the OC when he first came into New England. He's got it. I can work with him. We work really well together. Just trying to save his ass.
I think that he's a stooge, and I think that's the only thing that this is about. But the other deals that have been signed, Jawan Taylor to the Chiefs, they're going to play him at left tackle, which is shocking. And if it were anybody else, I'd say, holy crap, that's a bad decision. The Bills have signed Connor McGovern. The Bears have signed Mike McGlinchey. The Bears have signed Nate Davis. The 49ers signed Javon Hargraves to a big deal. The Falcons have signed David Onyemata from the Saints. They signed Jesse Bates to a huge contract, the safety from Cincinnati. They signed they traded for Jonnu Smith. The Dolphins have signed Mike White to be the backup quarterback to Tua. And there's a bunch of other deals that are out there so far. The Titans haven't done anything. But the real one that I guess I can't get my head around right now is about 2 hours ago, Trey Wingo put out there that the deal between the Packers and the Jets is done. Aaron Rodgers is headed to the Jets. And so far, we haven't heard anybody else breathe a word about that. In fact, Ian Rappaport said 2 hours ago that the deal wasn't done. And so we keep waiting for that news. I mean, that is the big news right now, is what the hell's going on with Aaron Rodgers. And again, we all thought coming into today that Aaron Rodgers was going to sign with the Jets. I think this time last week when we saw that Derek Carr had signed with the Saints, that then it was pretty much Jets or bust for Rodgers. We knew the Packers didn't want Rodgers anymore. The Packers president went on the record the other day and said, oh yeah, if he wants to be traded, we'll trade him. They've only been telling everybody out there that they're not interested in bringing Aaron Rodgers back. And the Jets owner, who is a billionaire and a former ambassador to England for the United States, schlepped all the way from New York to California last week to meet with Rodgers. And yet, Trey Wingo says it's done. Trey's got skins on the wall. And I wouldn't consider Trey Wingo to be some bum who doesn't know what he's talking about. But Schefter's not reporting it. Rappaport's not reporting it. Pelissero's not reporting it. Garofolo's not reporting it. I mean, I don't think I've seen, Pat McAfee, who, if anybody had the inside track on Aaron Rodgers, it would be him. Pat McAfee hasn't reported it, anything like that. In fact, all McAfee's put up there is a video from his show earlier today saying there's a lot of Aaron Rodgers rumors floating around the internet. So obviously he's playing into this. So again, we don't know as far as, other than that Trey Wingo report, we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is actually going to the Jets or not. And at this point, it is ridiculous. I mean, I thought last year's whole charade was ridiculous, right? Aaron wins the MVP. Aaron says he might retire. Aaron doesn't know what he's going to do. The Denver Broncos hire Nathaniel Hackett. They roll out the red carpet for Aaron. Everybody around the league is waiting to see what the two-time MVP is going to do. Aaron Rodgers then decides to go back to the Packers. He signs this ridiculous contract, and it took months and months and months and months before we got there. And then finally we got there. And even that felt a little ridiculous. Now this year, the season's over. And we don't know what Rodgers is going to do. We don't know what the Packers are going to do. The Packers are telling everybody and their grandmother that they don't want Aaron Rodgers anymore. And the Jets, just like the Broncos did last year, they've rolled out the red carpet. Think about this if you're the Jets. You went in on Derek Carr because you went in on Derek Carr. You met with him. You told Diana Rossini, we think he's a Hall of Famer. But ultimately, you didn't want him. Garoppolo worked with Robert Saleh before in San Francisco. Not interested in him. The only option, if Aaron Rodgers picks something else, the only option would be to call the Titans about Tannehill, and then I don't know who would quarterback the Titans if that were to happen. Rodgers? It's so ridiculous. And honestly, if you're the Jets, do you really want to deal with all of this? So again, we're keeping our eye on that as well. We don't know what's going on here. And the Titans have done absolutely nothing today, which is not a surprise. When the report came out last week that the Titans were shopping Derrick Henry, Jonathan Jones of CBS, who says he's an insider, but I haven't seen a lot of inside info. Jonathan Jones reported that he heard the Titans weren't shopping Derrick Henry. And as Paul Kaharski pointed out last week on the morning show, what happened was general managers that Mike Silver had talked to said the Titans were shopping Derrick Henry. Jonathan Jones picked up the phone. He called Ran Carthon. He said, are you shopping Derrick Henry? Ran Carthon said no. But one of the nuggets in there was that Ran Carthon was going to take a methodical approach to free agency. Now, I had told you the previous Friday that I had heard at the Combine that the Titans were telling people, we don't have the money. We don't have the money in free agency, so don't come asking us. But this should not be a surprise to anybody that the Titans, and boy, do they have a lot of needs. Left guard, left tackle, center, right guard, receiver 2, receiver 3, tight end 2, defensive end, outside linebacker, D-tackle, inside linebacker, corner, punt returner, kicker. But don't be surprised that the Titans have not been very active today. 615-737-1025, and our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com. It should be noted, by the way, and somebody put this up earlier today, but it should be noted, and I actually think this is kind of crazy, that not one wide receiver has signed today. We were told Jacoby Myers and Alan Lazard were the best receivers on the market. Not one wide receiver has been signed. And I think what we saw happen yesterday, where the Miami Dolphins traded for Jalen Ramsey, I think we'll see a little bit more of that after free agency comes and goes, where teams that have needs will say, okay, I'll give you a third-round pick in next year's draft to take a salary off your hands that you don't want anymore. Or I am more willing to pay that guy $20 million than you are willing to pay that guy $20 million, so let's do that. And that's what happened in the Ramsey case. 615-737-1025. We're right to your phones next on the Titans and free agency and these Aaron Rodgers rumors. I mean, right now, I don't think Vrabel and Rodgers would get along because all this bull crap that's going around, I don't think Vrabel would like this. And dealing with, is Aaron happy today? Is Aaron mad? I don't know. I don't think he'd like that. But if Aaron ends up not going to the Jets, which Trey Wingo says it's done, but nobody else is, there's only one other realistic option for where Aaron could play this season. And it's the Titans. 615-737-1025. Join 1025 The Game live from the Rusty Nail this Friday for the second day of the opening round of the tournament. Enjoy $3 two-lane beer drafts while watching some of the hoops during a St. Patrick's Day celebration. The Rusty Nail is located in Hermitage and provides a great local atmosphere with a large outdoor patio and volleyball courts. Plus, great drinks, great food, and especially the wings. That's 1025 The Game at the Rusty Nail at 4054 Andrew Jackson Way in Hermitage this Friday, and the doors open at 10 a.m.
The winner is... Listen all this week to Chase and Michelle for your chance to win 4-day passes to the Bourbon and Beyond Festival.
It's really gearing up here, Chase.
I'm excited.
Oh, yeah!
It's the world's largest bourbon and music festival, coming September 14th through the 17th in Louisville, Kentucky.
Makes you want to dance.
Yeah, I love it.
I like to move to it.
Listen all this week for your chance to win on Chase and Michelle.
I am listening.
From 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, the fun extends beyond the beach. Because here, the arts are alive, the food is al fresco, and the nightlife is electric. So let's forget the cold and find our place in the sun. Let's explore captivating collections at the Salvador Dali Museum and bask in bay views from the St. Pete Pier. Let's fill up on fresh caught cuisine and catch up over cold craft beer on rooftop patios. Day or night, let's shine. Plan your escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, it's Joe Rexford here for FanDuel Sportsbook, folks. This March, take your first shot at college hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets. That's up to $200. That's right. All you got to do is bet $20 on the bracket, and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting everything from money line, point spreads. You know that 5 versus 12 matchup. Oh, man, people love the 12s, right? Now, this is all on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use, and the ease of use is very important to me, folks. Take it from me. There's no better place to bet the tournament than FanDuel Sportsbook. So sign up today by going to FanDuel.com/Joe102 and make every moment more with FanDuel all tournament long. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you have a gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
When Smashville wants to rock.
I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. Looking to the sky to save me, looking for a sign of life, 'cause it's too cold for you here.
We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz. Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I'm stepping into a situation where a program has been established. There's a certain culture. There's a certain fit in how a player is supposed to look. So I'm learning that. I'm learning that, and I'm going to learn what it takes to be a Titan and what that's going to look like. And so it'll be our job and the personnel staff to go get as many players that fit that particular bucket of that particular position group to allow us all to make the most educated decision.
There you go. That was Rand Carthon at the Combine. This little nugget could be a big nugget about the Titans. I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist or anything like that. But Adam Schefter reports the 49ers have reached an agreement on a one-year deal with former Panthers quarterback Sam Darnold. Now, Sam Darnold, I actually think played pretty well for the Panthers at the end of last year when they started winning some games. And I certainly don't think that one-year deal for Sam Darnold is for Sam Darnold to start. But I think if Sam Darnold wasn't going to be the backup in San Francisco, I don't think he would have taken that deal. I think Sam Darnold would have taken something else, which makes me think one of two things. Either the 49ers are convinced that Brock Purdy is not going to be healthy for next year, or, and I think that this could be more likely, one of those two quarterbacks is out. And so remember when the Titans hired Rand Carthon, and Rand Carthon and Trey Lance put out that Instagram post with the two, with the fingers crossed or whatever, and people were like, does that mean that Trey Lance wants to come here? I have no idea. But if they're signing Sam Darnold, that's 3 quarterbacks, and that's 3 NFL caliber quarterbacks now. That is not Malik Willis. That is 3 NFL quarterbacks Darnold is a legitimate NFL quarterback, regardless of whether or not you think he's as good as, I don't know, Kirk Cousins or not. He's a legit starter in this. He is one of the top 32. Lance, they invested all those picks in. Purdy had the season that he had last year before getting hurt. Now, they said that he had the surgery last week that wasn't the full Tommy John, and that he would probably be ready right before training camp. And I think that if he's ready before training camp, did he not earn the job for this upcoming season? So I'm not saying Trey Lance or Brock Purdy to the Titans, but I am maybe thinking in my head that with that news of Sam Darnold to the 49ers, somebody's probably not going to be there next year. And I doubt it's going to be Darnold. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jesse has been waiting patiently. He's up next. What's up, Jesse?
Hey, I'm actually sticking with the 49ers now. A few weeks ago, there was a rumor that, I don't remember his name, but there was an offensive lineman that was interested in coming to the Titans because of his connection with Carthon. I haven't heard much since then. Have you heard any more rumors or rumblings or validity to that?
So I'm the one who reported it, and it was Mike McGlinchey, who signed with the Denver Broncos for $17 million a season. Thank you for your call, Jesse. Here's what happened. Mike McGlinchey knew that he wasn't going to return in San Francisco. And I think Mike McGlinchey wanted to be a Titan. I do. I think Mike McGlinchey wanted to be a Titan. I am not sure if the feelings there were reciprocated. As in, I certainly don't think the Titans wanted to pay him $17 million a year, but I'm not sure that the Titans wanted Mike McGlinchey.
Do you think that means Vrabel or Carthon or both?
I don't know. I just don't think the Titans wanted Mike McGlinchey. That I could tell you. Texture says, Jared, I think you're totally off. I think signing Darnold means they don't believe Lance or Purdy are going to be healthy for the start of the season. That's it. Why would Sam Darnold take that job? I mean, there are still starting jobs open in the NFL, including the team that he just left. Now, it looks like they're going to draft a quarterback at number 1, but there are more teams that don't have real quarterbacks than there are quarterbacks out there. Tampa Bay does not have a real quarterback. Atlanta, it feels like, does not have a real quarterback. I mean, it's not like going to San Francisco is like backing up in Cincinnati, where you know you're not going to play, but you know that they want one of the young guys to play. I mean, I think it's crazy to think that that one of those young guys is out. I think it's obvious. Texter says, Nate Davis to the Bears, Jonnu to the Falcons. Come on, Jared. I don't think the Titans wanted either guy. Think about this. Nate Davis went for $10 million a year. The Titans could have signed Nate Davis for $10 million a year. For all of you that even believe in the salary cap fantasy that is not, I mean, a Mel Kiper mock draft is about as serious as the salary cap is. But even for all of you out there in Fairy Tale Island that believe in that stupid cap, $10 million the Titans could have afforded. They didn't want to. They didn't want Nate Davis. That's why Jim Wyatt wrote it in the mailbag that the Titans weren't going to re-sign him, because he knew they didn't want Nate Davis. And Jonnu, you guys got mad because Ryan Tannehill stunk the following season after Jonnu Smith left, and John Robinson didn't tag him for $12.5 million. He got $50 million guaranteed from the Patriots, and he freaking sucked. Why am I going to sit here? Why do I care about Jonnu Smith to the Falcons? If the Falcons went out and got a quarterback, then we're talking. I mean, I actually like what the Falcons are doing. They've got Cordero Patterson to run the ball. They've got Kyle Pitts. Now, I think what they're going to do with Jonnu Smith is going to be used more of a blocking tight end than Kyle Pitts is. I think they look at Kyle Pitts as more of this pure hybrid tight end receiver, which could make him very dangerous. And they've got Drake London. And I think they're going to play Kyle Pitts and Jonnu together, and I think Jonnu's going to be okay. But I don't think Jonnu's going to be as good as he was the day he left here. And I don't think he'll ever be season is like a David Poyle rebuild that's not really a rebuild, but is actually a rebuild. Again, the difference between that is David Poyle doesn't have Jeffrey Simmons or Derrick Henry on his team. That's the difference. I mean, in this league, in order to win, and I think Kansas City's a good example of this, you need high-end players to win. That if you were to take a great player and you were to get 5 regular players in exchange for one great player, you would be stupid. That great players are what determines who wins in this league. In Kansas City, Mahomes, Jones, Kelsey, those are the great players they have. San Francisco, Bosa, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle. Those are, again, great players. You've got 2. Now, you had 3 and you traded away A.J. Brown, and now Philadelphia's in the Super Bowl because they added a great player. And that's why it's hard when you give away a great player to get good again. But what the Titans are not doing in free agency today has nothing to do with great players, because not one player that has been signed today is a great player. And I'm not even sure one of these players out there today would qualify as a great player. I don't think Orlando Brown is a great player. I don't think Alan Lazard is a great player. I don't think Jesse Bates. I mean, I think Jesse Bates is pretty good. I don't think he's a great player. I don't think Onyemata's a great player. I don't think Garoppolo is a great player. I mean, I think Garoppolo stinks. The one guy that I'll say, okay, that guy is really, really good, that I to me moves the needle and nobody talks about, but he doesn't play a premium position, is Edmonds, the linebacker from Buffalo. I think he's really good. And he signed with the Bears. Like, that guy, I think, is freaking good. But all these other guys, and I'm not saying they're, nobodies or that they're Scarbinis or anything like that. I'm just telling you, I don't think that they're impact players. I don't think that you win the Super Bowl because a lot of the guys that have been signed today. I don't think you win the Super Bowl because you signed Jermaine Pratt, or in the case of the Titans, you haven't re-signed David Long Jr. Yeah, I don't think any of that. Now, if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, that's a little different. But even then, that's not free agency. And I keep trying to tell you guys this. I mean, I don't want to sound like, I don't want to sound like I'm carrying water for the coach, but when Vrabel said at the Combine that it doesn't matter if you win March or not, there is a hint of truth in that. And that it doesn't matter if you spend the most money in the draft. What matters is whether or not you find players that you spend appropriately for that can help impact your team. If you sign a left tackle and you pay him $17 million, and then he's no good or he gets hurt, that doesn't do you any good. But if you sign a guy who's a solid player, not a great player, but you sign a solid veteran player for $4 million, then that's going to be fine. And now you have a left tackle. But you're not going to do that on day one of free agency, because that player is going to wait. That player is going to see early on if he can get more than $4 million. And when he can't, then he'll sign your $4 million offer. Austin Hooper last year was an example of that. He ended up signing, I believe, on Friday. But there was a lot of talk about Hooper maybe looking for a multi-year deal. My guess is the Titans said, we'll do 1 year, $6 million. And if you find a better deal, good for you. And if not, come back to us. And on Friday, they said, is the $6 million still there? And the Titans said yes, and they signed Austin Hooper. And that's what you're looking at. But it's going to be way more important that you draft a good player with the 11th pick than it's going to be about what you do today. Texter says, if I'm Derrick Henry or Jeffrey Simmons, I'm pissed at the idea of mailing it in for the season. What a waste. Who's mailing it in? Who's mailing it in? Texter to the text line, 615-737-1025 says, if Mike from San Francisco, if Mike McGlinchey wanted to come here and had connections with Rand Carthon and still didn't make it here based on how bad the Titans offensive line is, wouldn't that have meant that Vrabel got final say? And if so, is that something to worry about? Maybe Carthon doesn't like him. Does everybody that you work with, when you weren't in a hiring position, Did you like everybody you worked with? Maybe Carthon thinks, yeah, I think Mike McGlinchey would be a nice $10 million player, but I don't think Mike McGlinchey is a good $17 million player. I'm just telling you what I know. That McGlinchey would have liked to be here, have been here, and that it just doesn't seem like the Titans are very interested. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. More signings rolling in, more your phones. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. That's right, my guys. Hiller was actually at my home today, and they didn't do any work because we looked at the situation, and they gave me kind of the breakdown, and they said, hey, in order for us to do this, this would cost this much, and it would be hard for us to do it. But, again, I was thinking about installing internet cables, and they were like, talk to these people. They'll take great care of you. And that's what I love about Hiller. They're not coming to my house to sit there and see how much they can charge me for. What they're trying to do is they're trying to help me get the best service on my home. And they have been doing that for 4 years, and they do a great job of it. And that's why I'm thankful for them, and I trust their expert opinions. And sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks. But there's actually big problems that can come from outdated, old, vintage HVAC systems. Older systems have higher repair costs, require more maintenance, and result in higher utility bills. Even worse, they can break down when you need them the most. This month during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com and submit a picture of your old unit. Plus, everybody wins with trade-in credits and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacements. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
I think it's a really good move. TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
I mean, that's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Ever tried to shop for a diamond online? They all look great on the computer screen, but the fact is, most reputable jewelers like Genesis Diamonds wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole.
These are the diamonds that nobody wants to buy. We call them the B-quality diamonds.
That's Genesis owner Boaz Ramon, who says that even diamonds with the same grade and specs on paper can be very different when you see them up close in person, especially the ones from online dealers.
Those diamonds gonna look always cloudy or dirty. It's like you're wearing your glasses and there is fingerprints all over the glass. You just don't understand, or nobody told you that the material that this diamond was cut from was not the best material.
Why risk it? At Genesis Diamonds, they screen thousands of diamonds and only choose the best of the best for maximum brilliance, sparkle, and luster. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I'm Boaz Ramon, and my accent is always on value.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rex Text Road 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D Mace 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey, this is Philip Forsberg. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I am going to say this for every player. I'm as open to adding great players to our roster, whether that's at quarterback, that's at running back, that's at defensive line, corner. You know, I do believe that we have, you know, we've got some needs and some holes. I've told you that. I've asked them to look for players that have an element of speed, violence, and versatility, and that's what I want to look for. And look for offensive linemen that can protect the quarterback. You know, whether that's Ryan, whether that's Malik, that's Josh Dobbs, whoever that may end up being. Those are things that, you know, we have to do a better job at.
There you go. That was Vrabel talking about, I want to add great players. And a lot of you in the text line and your phone calls, you are panicking about the lack of activity from the Titans today on the opening of free agency. By the way, this free agency class kind of sucked. And that's why I don't think we're seeing a lot of deals get made. The deals we're seeing get made are by the teams that just straight up have spent no money. So the Atlanta Falcons have spent no money. Think about this. They've been terrible. Who are the big free agents Atlanta has signed over the last 2 or 3 years? Nobody. So now they can go out and spend the money because their books show that they're spending $100 and something million. And so, hey, we've got a budget for $220 million. Let's spend it. That's how this league works for a lot of teams, where it's like, oh yeah, we could spend all this money. Same with Chicago. They have to have big cap hits. I would not be surprised if Nate Davis's 3-year, $30 million contract comes out essentially as, and he'll get some kind of signing bonus because, you know, guys want money up front, but as opposed to a lot of signing bonus up front to where you get a low cap number the first year and then it's big the second and third year, it wouldn't surprise me if they purposely want a big cap number this year and that they want a big cap number on Edmonds, the linebacker they signed from the Bills, and they just traded for DJ Moore, and he's got a big cap number because they got to get that thing up so they can meet the NFL's threshold for the cap. Cody texts into the text line and says, if doing nothing results in Caleb Williams, I'm okay with it, but if it all results in losing Vrabel down the road, then I'll be pissed at the organization. And I don't think free agency is what's going to determine how good this team is going to be next year. I think the number one thing that is going to determine how good this team is next year, number one, is their health. If they get as injured as they did last year, then I think they're probably going to win about as many games as they did last year, which still put them in position for the playoffs. But for all of you out there that say, oh, we're going to go 9-8 again, I think that'll happen if you get hurt like you did last year. The second thing that I think will determine whether or not you're good this upcoming season is what you do in the draft. And I think the draft is much more important than what you do in free agency. Even arguably the biggest new player acquisition last season was A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles. That wasn't a free agency move. That was essentially a draft move. Be looking at the draft. The draft is going to be important. With the 11th overall pick, are they going to get that left tackle? You all want them to go out and drop $80 million right now on a guy that's going to come in here and play left tackle this week and be ready to make the Pro Bowl. That guy does not exist. Orlando Brown of the Chiefs is not even that guy, or else the Chiefs would have signed Orlando Brown, or at least they would have franchised him again. But he's not that guy. That guy does not exist in free agency. That guy you have to get in the draft. Or you have to do what San Francisco did and take Trent Williams, who absolutely despised Washington and was willing to retire if he had to stay there. But that's it. Texter says, if Rand Carthon is sold on him, I would love it if the Titans went after Trey Lance. and he was available for the Titans. What do you think the Titans would have to give up to get Trey Lance? 2 first-round picks? 2 first-round picks. First this year and a second round next year. Big E sent that into the text line. Big E, are you on drugs today? 2 first-round picks for Trey Lance? Let's think about this. The second somebody is drafted in the first round and they don't become Micah Parsons, all of a sudden they become a depreciating asset. And the reason they become a depreciating asset is because they have less years available on their rookie contract and they're about to get paid, or they're not that good. It's one or the other. Think about Treylon Burks right now. Would you trade Treylon Burks straight up for A.J. Brown? No, you would not. Would you trade Treylon Burks? Would Philadelphia have any interest in trading A.J. Brown for Treylon Burks? Of course they wouldn't. Because Treylon Burks was hurt last year. But this time last year, when they made the trade, it was hey, Treylon Burks might actually be a younger, healthier version of A.J. Brown. Now, even though Treylon Burks got some game, I don't think anybody thinks that. Well, Trey Lance has been hurt. So when you draft a guy in the first round, you get 5 years at a suppressed salary, thanks to the collective bargaining agreement. Well, now if you acquire Trey Lance, you at most get 3 years. But you really get 1 year because then you have to decide if you're going to pick up the 5th-year option. So you're getting 3 years of a guy who's unproven coming off of a serious injury. I think you can probably get Trey Lance for a 3rd-round pick. That's if they want to deal Trey Lance. Now, they said after the season, no, we're going forward with Brock Purdy and with Trey Lance. But with the news today that they're acquiring Sam Darnold, I at least understand, and I think that one of those 2 young guys is probably out. Texter says, if the Titans had dropped $17 million a year from McGlinchey, I'd have been furious. Speaking of overpaid, Jawan Taylor got paid. You know, we were talking about this before the show today. The idea that Jawan Taylor, he was a top 10 talent supposedly going into the 2019 draft. He was supposedly a top 10 guy. And Jawan Taylor fell all the way to the 2nd round for some mysterious injury concern, something or another. He ends up playing right tackle for the Jags, where he's so-so for about 3 years. Then, in the 4th year, Jawan Taylor is a dog at right tackle. And then he goes out and gets paid a bunch of money, and they're going to play him at left tackle. I mean, that's ballsy. But it's Andy Reid. So, with it being Andy Reid, we have to kind of say, well, maybe Andy knows what he's doing. Dylan says it's tank season, Jared. Ship off Tannehill and Henry, and let's watch Malik stink. Cheers to 2025. Who's going to take Tannehill right now? All those quarterback spots are getting filled. So there's no, the idea, just trade Tannehill. To who? I mean, even Trey Wingo's reporting that the Jets are going to, that the deal with Aaron Rodgers is done. Now, nobody else is reporting it, but Trey Wingo is reporting it.
Tampa? Could he go there?
No. Tampa, they're packing it in this season. They're not. Tampa's packing it in. They pushed all the money in the middle for Tom Brady, and they didn't win that Super Bowl. And now I think what they're going to do is they're going to do what the Falcons did the last couple of years, which is ball on a budget and stink. And then in 2 years, they'll have a bunch of money, and they'll go out there and try to buy a bunch of players. Texter says the Titans need to bring Tannehill and Henry back and be great around Tannehill. Remember when Vrabel said that? Now upgrade the talent at offensive line and receiver. I just don't think there are players out there to be able to do it. And I know people don't want to hear that because I know people want that. You just want the Titans to go sign 5 offensive linemen and a number 2 wide receiver to go next to Burks, and then you'll sleep better. But those guys don't exist in free agency right now. Now, the bargain guys, they might actually be able to help you, except you don't want to sign them on day one because you'll be paying more money than if you wait a couple of days. But you can't wait forever either. It's a very fine line. 615-737-1025. By the way, I thought the Vols absolutely, positively got screwed last night. You know, we're talking about Vandy and about how Vandy, I think, should have made the tournament. I thought Tennessee's draw was freaking ridiculous. And I think it's completely unfair. We'll get to that next. The teams have been selected for the tournament, so that means it's time for you to sign up and play the official Game Bracket Challenge, brought to you by Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. Go to theGameNashville.com/bracket challenge or the Game Nashville app now and pick your teams for a chance to win tickets to see Luke Combs at Nissan Stadium on Saturday, April 15th.
Shot clock at 2, and the three is good from Jordan Wright.
After an amazing end-of-season run, the Vanderbilt Commodores look to win the NIT.
Wright fires. Wow!
Join Jerry Stackhouse and his team for every moment on your home for Vanderbilt basketball. 93.3 Classic Hits.
The choice is yours, Wednesdays at 8:45. Brought to you by Jarrett Companies. Now hiring experienced sprinkler experts. Go to jarrettfire.com. JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, a company above and beyond industry standards.
Ever tried to shop for a diamond online? They all look great on the computer screen, but the fact is, most reputable jewelers like Genesis Diamonds wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole.
These are the diamonds that nobody wants to buy. We call them the B-quality diamonds.
That's Genesis owner Boaz Ramon, who says that even diamonds with the same grade and specs on paper can be very different when you see them up close in person, especially the ones from online dealers.
Those diamonds gonna look always cloudy or dirty. It's like you're wearing your glasses and there is fingerprints all over the glass. You just don't understand, or nobody told you that the material that this diamond was cut from was not the best material.
Why risk it? At Genesis Diamonds, they screen thousands of diamonds and only choose the best of the best for maximum brilliance, sparkle, and luster. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I'm Boaz Ramon, and my accent is always on value.
When that door closed behind me and I was free, the main thing I wanted to do was just re-enter society, get a job, and see my family.
It's okay.
There's a new state office of re-entry in Tennessee, specifically to help folks like me get jobs. Go to tnworkready.com or visit your local American Job Center. Re-entry is a normal thing, and it's okay.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
tnworkready.com.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new place. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
They're insightful.
To me, you got a left guard situation you got to figure out.
Credible.
I trust this guy more than this guy.
But sometimes they just argue.
Why do you like the NFL playoffs? Those teams lose I don't want college football to be the NFL.
When they get... Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad are Robbie and Rexroad. Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Yes, sir. The 4th seed, the Tennessee Volunteers, out of the SEC, 23-10 on the year, 11-7 in the conference. They make it 5 straight NCAA appearances, and they will meet out of the Sun Belt, the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. 26-7 on the year. They return to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2014 as they beat South Alabama in the Sun Belt tournament finals.
Let me just say, I don't know anything about Louisiana. They used to be Louisiana Lafayette. I think that's it. Oh, hold up. We got breaking news. I hate to say this. Mike Garafolo reports that the Tennessee Titans have agreed to terms with former Eagles tackle Andre Dillard. According to Mike Garafolo and Ian Rappaport, former first-rounder gets a chance to play in Tennessee. Can we get TD on the phone?
Yeah,
because TD has been pumping Andre Dillard to the Titans for about. Damn, I was really excited to talk about Tennessee basketball. We'll see if we can either get TD now or get TD in the next segment at 5 o'clock. But there you go. Hey, is everybody happy now? Again, we don't know the money, but former Eagles offensive tackle Andre Dillard is signing with the Titans. That according to NFL Network. And so with that, and here's what I think. Now, last year, Dillard was the swing tackle for the Eagles. Remember, they had Lane Johnson at one tackle spot, and they had Jordan Mailata at the other tackle spot. Dillard was the swing guy. Now, Dillard's a former first-round pick. He was taken in the first round late in the 2019 draft, and I think he's a starting caliber player. My guess is the Titans gave Andre Dillard, and I could be totally wrong about this, but this is my guess. My guess is the Titans gave Andre Dillard a one-year prove-it deal. Probably similar to what they did with Austin Hooper, which was 1 year, $6 million last year. They probably gave him a 1 year, $6 or $7 million contract, and my gut tells me that they told Andre Dillard, you'll have either the opportunity to start at left tackle, or if we draft a left tackle, you'll have the opportunity to start at right tackle, and we'll kick Nicholas Petit-Ferrer into guard. And worst case scenario, if the Titans draft, and this is for Dillard, worst case scenario for the Titans, if they draft a left tackle like Paris Johnson or Broderick Jones out of Georgia or Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern with the 11th overall pick, and then Nicholas Petit-Ferrer beats out Andre Dillard in training camp, then it's $6 million, $7 million when you've got two rookies at tackle. It is a good backup to have. And I always thought this was kind of what the Titans were going to do, is they were going to take somebody who either could be their starting left tackle, starting right tackle, or swing tackle, but it wouldn't be a problem if they were all three. Now, I don't know anything about Andre Dillard's game, and TD would. And TD has been pumping Andre Dillard.
We should get him after 5.
Get TD after 5?
He's writing it up right now, and then he's going to come
TD will join us at 5 o'clock? So TD will join us once he writes it up. But TD's been very big on this. So now, again, this is my question for everybody out there. We're tanking for the season. What are we doing? With Rand Carthon, Amy Adams Strunk's not spending the money. We should tank for Caleb Williams. And if I'm Derrick Henry, I'd be. How you feel now? And you can cross off one of the needs. So right now, for the Titans, needs, left guard, center, right guard, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, tight end 2, defensive end / outside linebacker, defensive tackle, inside linebacker, corner, punt returner, kicker. Let's cross off left tackle because right now the Titans have 2 starters at tackle in Andre Dillard and Nicholas Petit-Ferrer. Now, I don't love either because, again, it's not like either guy made the Pro Bowl last year, and I think for Dillard, this would not surprise me if this was a 1-year prove-it deal. And I wonder if Dillard today, had this Titans deal in the back pocket, woke up, looked around the league, and said, who can give me a multi-year deal or who can give me a bunch of money or who can do that? And it was like, nobody. And that Dillard went to the Titans and said, okay, that deal that you said was on the table, is that still on the table? I'm going to guess that's what that was. Again, there are no terms to this. Because the tweet only says, former Eagles tackle Andre Dillard is expected to sign with the Titans per Ian Rappaport and Mike Garafolo. The former first-rounder has a new home. So you at least now have 2 tackles on your roster. And this has been one that TD has been talking about for a while, so we will get TD's thoughts on it. But again, I stand with this question, are you happy? And let me say this. We were going to talk UT basketball here and how I thought they got a tough draw. But what I was going to say at 5 o'clock to kind of reset free agency, what I was going to say was I understand the plan. And I think the Titans truly have a plan. And that I understand what the plan is. Because this was kind of what my plan was. Which was you're not going to be able to go out there and spend big in free agency because even the guys you'd want to spend big on are really not that good. And when you're a team who already has money committed to other players, like you do with Tannehill and Henry and Byard and Landry, and that slot you're going to have to leave open for Simmons, you need players out there who are actually good. Guys that, or if they're not good, they need to be making $2 or $3 million a year. But you can't pay a guy $17 million a year and they stink. Denver can do it. You can't. Chicago, they're not paying anybody. Atlanta's not paying anybody. They can pay a guy $17 million, and if he's not good, they'll say, oh, he had a down year. Oh, he had a foot injury. He'll be fine next year. And then all of a sudden, if they have a bad year too, then they're out of there. But it doesn't matter there. Here, if you sign a guy to big bucks and it doesn't work out, everybody gets fired. You can't do that. So to me, I was going to say an older guy in Kelvin Beachum that I would have played left tackle last year, started for Arizona. But Andre Dillard fits the bill. Best case scenario, that's your left tackle. He plays well. Sign him up. And now he's your left tackle for the next 5 years. Worst case scenario, you draft a left tackle. Petit Ferrer develops, plays better than he did last year, beats out Dillard. Now you have Andre Dillard as your swing tackle. Now, again, none of the terms of the deal are available. And I do wonder, Rappaport and Garofolo work for the league. And usually the Titans do give their tea to the league. Rappaport was the one that broke the story that John Robinson was being fired. So I wonder if this is coming from the team. Normally, these guys on the free agency day are getting it from the agents. If they're getting it from the agents, and all they're telling you, this is if it comes from the agents, and all you are hearing is that it's just the Titans have signed Andre Dillard, but we don't know how many years, then we probably can assume that it's 1 year. And if they're not telling us how much money he signed for, chances are it's probably not a lot of money. If it was more than 1 year, and if it was a lot of money, you'd have that number out there immediately. It would be, sources tell me that the Titans are signing Andre Dillard to a 3-year, $47 million. You'd have those numbers right there. So when you just get Titans are signing Andre Dillard, my guess is this is a 1-year prove-it deal, if I had to guess. Just 1 year. And then maybe he plays left tackle. Maybe he plays right tackle. Maybe he's a swing tackle. I do like this move, though, only because now the anxiety of who's going to play tackle, at least you have a little clarity. But again, if you're just joining us, according to Mike Garofolo and Ian Rappaport, NFL Network, the Titans are signing Andre Dillard. We do not know the terms of the deal yet, but again, Dillard in his career had been somewhat, Andre Dillard had been somewhat displaced by Jordan Mailata. And so he was never going to come back to the Eagles. And so once they decided to do that, he was kind of open. And I could see teams saying, okay, now you can sign him as a swing tackle or maybe as a starting tackle. I think there was some talk before the trade deadline about Andre Dillard perhaps being available. And ultimately Philadelphia deciding they were going to try to make a run at it. They decided, no, we're not really going to do this. Now, here's the concern about Andre Dillard. Now, Andre Dillard has been in the league for 4 years. And I guess he was hurt all of 2020 because he didn't play. Maybe he opted out. I don't know. I'd have to look into that. But Andre Dillard has been in the league now for 3 years. And he started a total of 9 games. So there is a risk here. There is a risk. He played in 12 games last year with Philadelphia. He's been a left tackle. I think he can play right tackle. I think he's a swing tackle. And to me, I think it's kind of an insurance thing. If they don't go left tackle in the draft, then what they do after that, then he probably sticks in at left tackle and we'll see if he can play. Former 22nd overall pick. If they draft the left tackle, I say he should battle it out with Nicholas Petit Ferrer. Coach Shoup came on our show after the season, and I asked him, what do you think about Nicholas Petit Ferrer? And he said that he did okay, but that they should bring somebody in to compete with him. And then, of course, there's the swing tackle position that the Titans got caught with their pants down last year when they went to training camp. And not only did they not have a swing tackle, but they didn't really have a right tackle. And so they had to trade for Dennis Daly right before the start of the season. And I know how you all feel about Dennis Daly. So with that, we'll get your reaction. The Titans are on the board for everybody that's been bitching all day in the text line. 615-737-1025. Andre Dillard, 43 games in his career, 9 starts as a tackle. Talk about hitting the discount rack, which is no different than what I was thinking the Titans were going to do in free agency anyways. What do you make of it? 615-737-1025. We'll get to your reaction, and we should be talking to TD here at some point, Teron Davenport, who has been all over this Andre Dillard thing for what feels like a while. TD's going to join us next. We'll get his thoughts on it. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
Tannehill, Henry right up the middle, touchdown, Tennessee.
All the big stories.
The Titans' window to contend is however long Derrick Henry stays Derrick Henry.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Gets it back and scores.
Our execution was good. They have not found their groove. It's always great to win in this league. It's tough to win.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Time for the Press Report.
The Predators finished up the longest road trip of the season with a SoCal sweep this weekend, beating the LA Kings in a shootout, and then last night, the Ducks in overtime. Dueling odd man rushes. Novak to Tomasino, another 2-on-0. Novak scores! Let's go home! 5-4 Preds in overtime. Phil Tomasino to Tommy Novak in the most fun game of Chell 3-on-3s that you will ever see in real life. Tommy Novak scored the game-winning goal. The Predators got 9 out of a possible 12 standings points on the trip and return home tomorrow night after 2 weeks away. We will play the Red Wings tomorrow at 7 at Bridgestone Arena. Hope to see you there.
All the best car deals in Smashville start at Newton Nissan. Visit them at Newton Nissan of Gallatin or Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Now, your Game Center update.
Hi, I'm Chase McCabe. This report presented by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The legal tampering period is underway in the NFL, and the Titans have reportedly signed former Eagles tackle Andre Dillard to a contract. Money and term have not yet been reported. Other news, former Titans guard Nate Davis has signed a 3-year deal worth $30 million, $19.25 guaranteed with the Chicago Bears. Other signings include safety Jesse Bates going to the Falcons on a 4-year deal, $64.02 million, $23 million in year 1. Patrick Peterson has signed reportedly with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Former 49ers right tackle Mike McGlinchey will sign with the Denver Broncos on a 5-year deal worth $87.5 million with over $50 million guaranteed. Elsewhere, Javon Hargrove leaves the Eagles and signs with the 49ers on a 4-year deal. And the Lions are signing Cam Sutton on a 3-year contract. And then finally, former Jags offensive tackle Jawan Taylor will sign with the Kansas City. I'm Chase McKay with the Game Center update on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. And they're planning to play him at left tackle, which likely means that Orlando.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Again, the news, the Titans, according to Mike Garafolo and Ian Rappaport, are on the board as they have signed a backup tackle from Philadelphia, Andre Dillard, a former 2019 first-round pick. The Titans have signed Andre Dillard. We do not know how many years. You heard it in Chase's update. We don't know what the terms are. TD has a responsibility right now, but he will be joining us in about 10 minutes. Now, TD has been talking even since before the trade deadline about the Titans going out and acquiring Andre Dillard. Now, let me say this. The one thing I am concerned about is the fact that Andre Dillard has 9 career starts. But this has always been what the Titans are going to have to do. The Titans were always going to have to go out and get either a guy with upside and coach him up, or the Titans were going to have to go get an old veteran that they could sign for 1 year, and they were never going to go out and get an Orlando Brown. And I think that that's the right call. This is the way that I view the Titans. I think right now, the Titans are a team that has decent star players. I wouldn't say that they're high-end like Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati. And I wouldn't say that they're bottom of the basement with teams that, I mean, who are the star players of the Houston Texans? You know, Derrick Henry's a star. Jeffrey Simmons is a star. Their core players, I think the Titans' core players are good. And so make of that what you will. I think they're good. Now, because of that, everything else is just kind of filler. You just need a guy there. You just need replacement level players there. It's like the backup running back spot. I like Dontrell Hilliard, but I would never pay Dontrell Hilliard $4 million. I'd have no interest in that. This is what I think they're going to have to do, which is sprinkle in solid players around Simmons, around Landry, around Byard, around Henry, around Tannehill. And then they're going to have to hope that the young guys who have the potential to be really, really good, Burks, Okonkwo, etc., that those guys take off. And I'm okay with that plan. By the way, not every player on the Philadelphia Eagles is an all-star. Now, they've got a lot of good players, but what they've done is they've taken a great core of players, added A.J. Brown to it, and then put in all the perfect pieces. They traded for a C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You know, the Saints had 2 safeties, and they were like, we don't need C.J. Gardner-Johnson anymore. And they traded him away. James Bradbury, who ultimately ended up costing them the Super Bowl with that felonious holding call. But James Bradbury was a cap casualty by the Giants. Those are the kind of guys the Titans need to add. And then they need Treylon Burks to become a star. And they need the 11th overall pick in one form or another to ultimately become an impact starter. That's what they need. Now, apparently we do have the numbers. Mike Garafolo says 3 years, $29 million? Holy crap. Is that right? 3 years, $29 million for a guy who has started 9 games? I mean, whoa now. I thought this was going to be like a 1 year, $6 million contract. 3 years, $29 million. Holy crap. Now, we'll see how this deal is structured. If I was the one in charge, and look, beggars can't be choosers, and we've seen that Titans offensive line. They basically, you all that wanted Nate Davis, and Nate Davis has started something like 55 games for the Titans. The Titans took the contract that Nate Davis got. They gave it to Andre Dillard, who started 9 games in his career. That tells you what the Titans think of Nate Davis. But $29 million, and again, and this time every year, the old man, Floyd, used to always caution us about getting too far ahead of ourselves when we see the numbers on a deal. My gut, if I was in charge of this, my gut would be that it's essentially a 1 year deal for like $7 million or something. And then if he proves that he's a starting caliber left tackle, then we'll start paying him starting caliber tackle money. But if this is something like 3 years at $29 million and the Titans are actually essentially guaranteeing the first 2 years, which is normally how a lot of these deals work, $20 million on a guy who has started 9 games in his career seems like kind of a risky move. But again, I'm not going to overreact to what the contract is reported as. 3 years, $29 million, though. Wow. That seems to be a little ridiculous. Just, wow. For a team that has no money, they sign a guy with 9 career starts to a $29 million contract? Wow. I would not have been signing him to a $29 million contract. 3 years, $29 million. My God, I cannot get over that. We'll see what that $29 million really looks like. David Carr, why do I keep doing that? Derek Carr signed a contract extension last year for the Raiders, and obviously he didn't even play on it. But 3 years, $29 million. Wow. 9 career starts. To your phones. 615-737-1025. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Texter in the text line says most places have Dillard listed as a tackle, but Pro Football Focus has him listed as a guard. I'm sure this is something that TD could answer, but would it be possible that if he doesn't stick at tackle, he could move into guard? I know it is typically easier to move inside than it is outside, but I know nothing about him. I'll say this, for 3 years and $29 million for 9 starts, he better be a tackle. I mean, to me, if you're paying 3 years, $29 million, and I am trying not to overreact. I am trying not to overreact to just the agent telling Garofolo 3 years, $29 million. Because last week, we saw a contract that was Geno Smith, $35 million a year, and then we found out that it was basically $25 million for 1 year for Geno Smith. That if Geno Smith plays well, then it's $35 million a year for Geno Smith. But that's if Geno Smith plays well. So I'm going to try not to get too worked up or bent out of shape. And it wouldn't surprise me if some of that is to lower the cap number, 3 years, $29 million. So if you play well the first year, then you can get more. But at 3 years, $29 million, he better be starting at tackle next year. Especially given the tackles the Titans don't have on their team. 3 years, $29 million. Texter into the text line says, now Jared is making excuses. Let me say this. If this is a straight-up 3-year, $29 million deal, if this is legitimately $10 million a year, and again, the way that most of these deals, in my opinion, work on the first day of free agency, if you're a good free agent, like a Nate Davis deal, I think Nate Davis has a 3-year, $30 million deal, and 19 of it's guaranteed. And we don't know how much of this money's guaranteed for Andre Dillard. But if this is something similar to that, then I am going to lose my freaking mind. I mean, because a guy that has 9 career starts in the NFL, and again, to the point of the text earlier, he doesn't know anything about this guy. The only thing I know about this guy is that TD loves him. That's all I know. That TD has been talking about him since before the trade deadline about a guy the Titans need to be targeting. And every time we've talked about Andre Dillard, he's talked about him as an answer at tackle. And the Titans clearly have a giant hole at left tackle. Now, they do have Aaron Brewer's rights as a restricted free agent, and I would assume that they will tender him for the $2.6 million right of first refusal on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. So in theory, I don't want Brewer starting on the line, but they may not have a choice. In theory, you would then have 3 of your 5 spots between Petit Ferrer, Dillard, and Brewer. But that's not a lot of experience on the line. And you just, your second assistant is now your line coach. It's not exactly like you have Mike Munchak in there coaching them up. But man, I cannot get over that money. Again, I want to see what the actual money is. Texter in the text line says that's as much money as Derrick Henry makes. Gosh, again, the way they're reported, there's a reason why it doesn't say how much guaranteed money there is. because I can't imagine. I get Nate Davis, and Nate Davis has 55 career starts. And I'm not a Nate Davis fan, and I really never have been. But Nate Davis is a legitimate starting guard in the NFL. Nate Davis was 3 years, $30 million, and 19.5 or whatever of it was guaranteed, which basically means the first 2 years for Nate Davis on the 3-year deal were guaranteed. If Andre Dillard got the same deal, I'm going to lose my mind. I've got to believe that there's no way that they guaranteed more than $10 million. If they guaranteed more than $10 million, my goodness gracious, for a guy that has 9 starts. They drafted him in the first round. In fact, the Eagles, because I remember on draft night, the Eagles traded up in the first round to jump the Texans, and the Texans ended up taking Titus Howard, who plays guard for them. The Eagles jumped up in order to take him in the first round. Matthew from Jolton says, move him to guard and sign Orlando Brown Jr. Orlando Brown Jr. Orlando Brown Jr. Goodness gracious. Oh, goodness gracious. Wow.
Too many people playing Madden thinking that you can do it all.
It's just unbelievable. $29 million. How many real dollars do you think this is? The guaranteed money. Over under $12 million on the 3-year, $29 million deal. Chase, your thoughts?
I'll say under.
And I said $12 million?
Yeah.
It's got to be under. It's got to be a 1-year deal with essentially 2 options that aren't technically options. And if it's anything more than that, then the Titans probably overpaid.
It's one of your fake cap deals, I think.
It's got to be a fake cap deal. It's got to be like, hey, if you prove yourself, then we'll pay you. If not, you won't. 615-737-1025. Hey, at least they got a body. Because a bunch of you guys earlier today were all bent out of shape about what are the Titans doing? It's going to be a long season. We should tank. All of this stuff. And like I said, I think what they need to do is they just need to have serviceable players and hope the players that they drafted or expect to be star players will be stars this upcoming season. Like Burks, like Okonkwo, like those guys. They have to ascend. $30 million for a tackle who's got 9 career starts. He better be good. 615-737-1025. TD will stop in at some point here. And again, he's been the guy who has been pumping Andre Dillard to the Titans as not a possibility like he was reporting it, but as like an opinion as to something that he would want to do. And the Titans ended up doing it. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game. First, though, let me tell you all that the Predators have a game tomorrow night, and it's your chance to participate in Preds Pick to Click, brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty and Superbook Sports. If you correctly guess a Preds player that scores a goal in the game tomorrow night, you win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. Participate in Pick to Click tomorrow morning at 8:45 with Robbie and Joe. And tomorrow, with the game, hang out before the game at the Superbook Lounge and Landshark Bar and Grill Margaritaville on Broadway with 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Place your bets with Superbook and enjoy great food and drink specials. Plus, enter for a chance to win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Come on. Join Robbie and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota, like Corolla Cross, the first ever Corolla SUV, or the best-selling Toyota Camry, now available with all-wheel drive. And you can get 3.99 APR financing on a new 23 Camry, now through April 4th. With approved credit through TFS, excludes TRD and hybrids. And every new Toyota comes with 2 years no-cost maintenance. Get complete details at buyatoyota.com. Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Teron Davenport here from Superbook Sports. Make 2023 the year you beat Vegas. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting lines for American sports. Just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at the Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, Superbook features some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. So download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com and start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to theGameNashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You mentioned offensive line, Mike. I mean, how big a challenge is it? You could potentially have as many as, I guess, 3 new starters next year.
Could have 5, Jimmy. I don't know. I'm not in the prediction business. I don't know, but I know that we're going to find guys that exhibit the way that we want to play within the framework of the rules, and that they finish and they value staying between their man and a quarterback.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel at the Combine, and I think we know who one of the 5 new offensive linemen the Titans may have next year is going to be, as the Titans have signed Andre Dillard of the Philadelphia Eagles, 9 career starts to reportedly a 3-year, $29 million contract. I cannot get over this. 3 years, $29 million. Now, again, the one thing that Floyd used to always talk to us on this show about was, hey, be careful when these numbers come out. You know, how much is guaranteed? How much is guaranteed for injury? What's the signing bonus? Things like that. So I am trying to come up realistically in my mind with how I feel like this Andre Dillard contract is structured that would keep me from losing my mind. So here's what I came up with. 3 years, $10 million guaranteed, $29 million total. So you give him $6 million to sign, which means that there's a $2 million cap hit in each of those 3 years, and let's say a $4 million base salary this year. So that's $10 million with a cap hit of $6 million. Not bad, you know, if the guy ends up being your left tackle. Then the next year you give him a $9 million salary, and you don't guarantee any of it, and he's got a $4 million dead cap charge, and a $9 million salary plus 4 would put you at $13 million against the cap, which is not bad. If he proves to be your starting left tackle, $13 million is a great deal. And then the next year, it would be, that would be $11 million for him. The next year would be $13 million. And again, those are essentially like options with a $9 million salary and an $11 million salary. Did that make any sense?
I think so.
Okay. So basically what I'm hoping this is essentially a 1-year, $10 million contract with 2 options, $9 million and $11 million behind it. You give him $6 million to sign today. That's a $2 million cap hit each of the next 3 years. You give him a $4 million salary. It's a $6 million hit against the cap. It's a $10 million actual cash money in his pocket. And then the next year, basically options for the Titans, $9 million and $11 million. But he has to prove that he's actually good this season. And that I'm okay with. And again, if you're a starting tackle in the NFL, $9 million is cheap. Like, that is not bad. Texter Ross in Columbia asked the question, so is Paris Johnson still an option at 11? Hell yes. Yes. Because, again, you need 5 guys out on the offensive line. Now, some guys that play tackle can't play guard, and most guys who play tackle can't play center. But for the most part, a lot of these guys, especially a guy like Dillard, who's been a backup offensive lineman, Dillard has experience at guard. So even if the Titans, let's say Paris Johnson is as good as everybody says he is out of Ohio State. You know, Mel Kiper Jr. talks about Paris Johnson, and it's like, I'll tell you what, you flip on the tape and you see the size and the speed and the ability. I mean, I think he's a day one starter right away. And I think he's an impact left tackle. They lose Taylor Lewan. I think he comes in. I think his size, his length, his speed, his footwork, his agility, I think it puts him right on par. Like, let's say that Mel Kiper's right and that Paris Johnson is, in fact, all that in a bag of chips. Well, you draft Paris Johnson. Now, if Andre Dillard beats out Nicholas Petit-Ferrer kicks into guard. Let's say Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, with his rookie year under his belt and a better offensive line coach, he actually improves at right tackle, and you draft Paris Johnson at left tackle. Now you kick Dillard into guard, and if Dillard is good, that essentially $10 million salary is no biggie. Then you're fine. I actually gave Dillard $1 extra million. Because I had $9 million 1 year and $11 million. That would be 30. It's $29 million. So let's just take away that 11 and make it 10. But if he stinks, then you get rid of him and it's just a $4 million dead cap charge. And as we have been over so many times on this program, the cap is not real. Ty texts in and says, is he better than Dennis Daly? Yes. The Titans got better today. If that's going to be how we do this, that everything is compared to Dennis Daly, then everybody's going to be better. But that is part of my take for all the people that are like, I'm not interested in having another season like last season again, is I'm like, dude, you had Dennis Daly, and you're going to be much better this year. And I got to believe even with 9 starts under his belt, I have to believe Andre Dillard is better than Dennis Daly. But I still, $29 million for a guy who has 9 starts in his career over 4 years. You know, that's 2 starts a season. 29 divided by 9 that's $3.2 million for every start that he's had in his career. But again, I think some of it's funny money or option money or, CYA money more than it is real money. If it's real money, I am going to lose it for a guy who's got 9 starts. 615-737-1025. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. This March, take your first shot at college hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 on the bracket and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting everything from the money line to point spreads to that 5 versus 12. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. There's no better place to bet the tournament than FanDuel Sportsbook. And let me just say this. I've been telling people about this. Duke. I am a believer in Duke. I was going to talk about this earlier today before the signing happened And I was going to say I thought Tennessee got a terrible draw because Duke is a 5 seed who hasn't lost since Valentine's Day and just rolled through the ACC tournament and beat Virginia at their own game. And they've got 2 freshman bigs that are playing like sophomores. I am a huge believer in Duke this year. And I'm certainly not a Duke fan. But boy, I think Duke is freaking good this year. There's no better place to bet the tournament than FanDuel. Sign up today, FanDuel.com/JGM, and make every moment more with FanDuel all tournament long. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Want a chance to win tickets to an upcoming Preds game?
Yes.
Tune in to Robbie and Rex Road every weekday Preds game day at 8:45 for Preds Pick to Click. Guess a goal scorer and win.
I'll take Roman Yost.
Matt Buchanan.
Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are referred so often. And by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today.
Preds Pick to Click.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a great escape. With 35 miles of white sand, there's no better place to get away. So let's explore the secluded beaches of Fort DeSoto or paddle our way around Honeymoon Island. Let's kick back, kayak, and catch crimson sunsets. Let's trade snow boots for bathing suits. Let's make today and tomorrow a beach day. Let's shine. Plan your escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Sports and leadership go hand in hand. In fact, 94% of women executives were student athletes. Play Like a Girl is creating a more equal playing field for the next generation of women in leadership. You can help too. Become a mentor, donor, or volunteer. Learn more at iplaylikeagirl.org/mentor.
Hey, it's Jared. If you're listening to us on I-24 towards Murfreesboro or I-65 towards Spring Hill, make sure you check out 106.3 for another great way to hear Nashville's best sports talk.
Join 102.5 The Game live from the Rusty Nail in Hermitage on Friday, March 17th.
And the three is good.
Taking the first round of games during a St. Patrick's Day celebration. Enjoy $3 two-lane beer drafts all month long during the tournament.
Yes! What a shot!
Plus a great local atmosphere with a big back patio and volleyball courts. There's also great drinks and great food, especially the wings. That's Friday, March 17th at the Rusty Nail in Hermitage. Doors open at 10.
Hey, Nashville. This is Laura Rutledge from the SEC Network, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I'm stepping into a situation where a program has been established. There's a certain culture. There's a certain fit in how a player is supposed to look. So I'm learning that. I'm learning that, and I'm going to learn what it takes to be a Titan and what that's going to look like. And so it'll be our job and the personnel staff to go get as many players that fit that particular bucket of that particular position group to allow us all to make the most educated decision.
That was Rand Carthon at the Combine. I keep trying to look to find what we see as far as, I'm trying to find on the internet, like I'm searching for stories about Andre Dillard. And I'm like, give me like some kind of scouting report on what Andre Dillard is and their free agency tracker and everything else that the Philadelphia Inquirer has. And I am trying to figure out whether or not he's actually a good player. And I guess the vibe I get, like I searched news on Google to try to see, what would come up or anything else. And there's just like all it is about the Titans signing Andre Dillard. And I'm trying to find, like, is there anything in there that tells me if Andre Dillard was good with the Eagles or why Andre Dillard only started 9 games over 4 years? And now, again, Jordan Mailata is the left tackle of the Eagles, and they pay him a bunch of money. And I'm trying, or they're going to be paying him a bunch of money because he's a starting left tackle in the NFL. And I guess they took him, let's see, he joined the Eagles in 2018. So, I try to figure all this out because why would you spend, and again, we don't know how much the funny money is here, but why would you spend $29 million on a guy who has 9 career starts? And that's what I'm trying to figure out because that is, in fact, what the Titans decided to give Andre Dillard, $29 million. I thought from what I heard about the Titans, I thought this was all going to be just discount shopping. I thought this was all going to be, $6 million here, $7 million there. Like in my free agency preview, I gave Samson Ebukam from the 49ers a $27 million deal. And I thought to myself, are the Titans really going to pay somebody a $27 million contract? But they go out and give a guy with 9 career starts $29 million to play left tackle. And again, we already went over how it could be fake, but it is at no worse a 1-year, $10 million deal. Let's go to your phones as promised. Texter in the text line says, Jared, how concerning was his arm length? Dillard was only in the 27th percentile. Seems like a huge physical trait for a tackle. I mean, people make a big deal out of that. Maybe this is them kicking him into guard. The thing that's evident here with the money they gave Jordan Mailata and his lack of playing time in the NFL and the fact that Nate Davis signed for 3 years, 30, and he signed for 3 years, 29, is that they really didn't like Nate Davis. Because they may kick Andre Dillard into guard, especially if they go left tackle with the 11th overall pick. Texter says, is Andre Dillard better than giving $10 million a year to Nate Davis? That I can't tell you. But I will tell you this. Word on the street was Vrabel didn't like Nate Davis. I don't know if it's because Nate Davis trained for the offseason out in Los Angeles this year. I don't know if it's because Nate Davis only played in 12 games this year. I don't know if he's not tough enough for Vrabel. I don't know what it is. But to me, I heard before the end of the season what was told to me by somebody who probably knows enough was Vrabel hates Nate Davis. That's what I was told. And I just kind of kept that in my back pocket. And then Jim Wyatt wrote on the team's website in one of his mailbags, he was asked about Nate Davis coming back. And Jim was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. And when Jim Wyatt is writing down on team stationery, yeah, I don't think he's coming back. I think we need to read between the lines on that one. And especially that I had heard Vrabel hates Nate Davis. And then Jim writes that. And then Nate Davis signs for $10 million, which even if you're the most cash poor team in the league, you can find a way to fit that contract underneath your deal. And they didn't want him. I think it's pretty obvious to me the Titans didn't want Nate Davis for whatever the reason may be. Texter says that's got to be wrong. No way the Titans are paying a guy $29 million for 9 career games. Oh, that's right. I mean, it doesn't mean that it's not a maximum of $29, that it could be a 3-year, $15 million deal, but with incentives on starting, it could end up being a $29 million deal. Again, they could fudge this however they want. And every time we used to do this, it used to drive me crazy on the radio because we'll talk about how much money you want to give a guy, right? We'll talk about, he's $15 million a year. And then every year we know that deep down inside, none of those numbers matter because you can finagle them however you want. What matters? Guaranteed money, signing bonus. That's what matters. We don't know what the signing bonus is. We don't know what the guaranteed money is. But that's what matters. The whole other way, you can window dress it however you want. But damn, $29 million for 9 career starts. I got to believe that there's no way that they've guaranteed more than $12 million on this deal. And if they have guaranteed more than $12 million, then I truly have a little bit of an issue here. Texter says in the 714 snaps he's played over 3 years, he's had 4 penalties. That seems pretty good. Texter says he is a starting caliber left tackle who just got unlucky with timing and the play of Jordan Mailata, so he got stuck behind him on the depth chart. Okay.
When I hear that, I hear Floyd's voice. Why is he available? Asking that question. If he's that good, then they would have found a way to play him.
Now, again, the old saying in football, and now the line that they had there was freaking stacked. But the old saying that they had in football is a guy's only available for one reason. 1 of 4. Either he's a bad player, bad guy, too much money, or he's hurt. According to Jeremy Fowler, David Long Jr., 2 years, $11 million to the Dolphins. What'd I say earlier today? I said if you're David Long Jr. and you see that TJ Edwards contract come down the pipe at 3 years, I think it's 3 years, $19 million. You see that contract come down the pipe, you might as well just pick up the phone, call the Titans, say 2 years, $10 million, let's call it a day. 2 years, $11 million for David Long Jr. with the Dolphins. I don't know if the Titans really wanted him back. I mean, you have to believe that if the Titans are not paying $11 million for David Long Jr. after they just gave, and again, we don't know how much real money they gave Andre Dillard, but if they gave Andre Dillard $29 million fake dollars, surely they would have given David Long $11 million fake dollars. 2 years, $11 million for David Long. Do you know what's obvious too with this? All of these injured guys from last year, they're not bringing back. Long was injured last year, they're not bringing him back. Davis was injured last year, they're not bringing him back. Lawan was injured last year, they're not bringing him back. Ben Jones was injured last year, they're not bringing him back. Hell, we don't even know if they're bringing Tannehill back. The only injured guy, Bud Dupree was injured last year, they're not bringing him back. The only injured guy who has a contract that would make sense to get out of, other than Tannehill, and I don't think it makes sense because I don't know who's going to play quarterback if you get rid of Tannehill, but the only guy that makes sense to get rid of as far as, or to keep as far as injured guys last year is concerned is Danico Autry. He's the only guy. And they could get out of Danico Autry's contract if they wanted to, but I don't want to get out of Danico Autry's contract. But wow. Oh, wow. $11 million for David Long Jr. When I saw that TJ Edwards deal come down today, and I saw $19 million, I thought, ooh, if I was David Long, I would just go ahead and call it a day. I would just say, okay. I would say that's enough there. I don't want to get into this market. And my guess is the Titans told him, like, hey, go out and find a deal, bring it back to us, and if we can match it, we'll try to match it. And if he came back with 2 years, $11 million, either that or he didn't want to be here. And I don't think it's that. If he came back to the Titans at 2 years, $11 million, after all that money they gave Julio Jones, if he came back here with 2 years, $11 million, and the Titans still said, yeah, nah, we can't trust you. We can't trust you. My goodness gracious. But I tell you, the first 40 minutes of free agency, I thought we weren't going to get any deals done today. But now it seems like we've had some come down the pipe.
I feel like there's waves. Like there's a few here and there, and then it kind of dies off for a second, then it picks back up.
So if you are just joining us, the Titans today, Nate Davis to the Bears for $10 million a year, 3 years, $30 million. 2 of them are guaranteed. David Long, 2 years, $11 million to Miami. And good for David Long. You know, $11 million is not bad. And we don't know how much of that's real money, but, you know, whatever. Obviously, the Titans didn't want to bring him back, and they obviously didn't want to bring Nate Davis back. And Robert Woods signed with the Texans over the weekend. Don't know how much anybody cares about that. But the Titans have signed Andre Dillard from the Eagles to a reported 3-year, $29 million deal, Andre Dillard has made 9 career starts. But apparently, from everything that everybody is telling me, the reason that he's made 9 career starts is because he got hurt one year and Jordan Mailata has played so well, and with him and Lane Johnson, there's just not a spot for Dillard to play. I do wonder how much of that $29 million is guaranteed, though. Texture says, why would they play David Long Jr., a player that impacts the defense, when they can sign a 9-game starter for $29 million? I will say this, middle linebacker, not that big of a position. It doesn't matter that much to me. Now, it is still a need, but it is not that big of a deal. Speaking of the needs, what the Titans have now that they have essentially taken care of one of their needs. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The crowd is standing on its feet. It's in the hole! It's in the hole!
Join 102.5 The Game for the 2nd annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Souls for Souls, June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs.
Be the ball.
Support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at theGameNashville.com/golf.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormonal deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve your quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
When you want to rock.
Let's go. Don't wait. This night's almost over. Do all the monsters come out at night? Why do we sleep when we want to hide?
We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz. Start your day with a cup of Joe. Ugh, he's gonna think that's stupid. Wait, what? Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad are Robbie and Rexroad. There, that sounds better.
Thank you so much.
Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The financial constraints that you have in 6 picks enough?
Sure. I'm never going to say that it's not enough. I don't know any different. We're all at the same point. Nobody's going to win. Somebody's going to win March, and they're going to, they had the best free agent class. I'm pretty sure that the Chiefs didn't win March in free agency, but they developed and continue to improve, and that's just, I guess, where we were a little different this year. I felt like we grinded out some games, lost a close one here or there, but where we normally had been at our best and finding ways to improve, we just weren't able to do it this year, which was reflective of how we finished the season.
There you go. That was Vrabel, and asked about the Capitol and all the needs the team had. What are they going to do? Vrabel says, no, we are not going to just sit back and say nothing we can do. Now, here are the needs the Titans have, because they did sign Andre Dillard today, a tackle from the Eagles, 3 years, $29 million reported by Mike Garafolo, though we do not know how much real money that contract actually is. David Long Jr. just signed with the Dolphins. Nate Davis signed earlier today with the Chicago Bears. So those guys are out, which takes us to their needs. Right now, they need a left guard. They need a right guard. They need a wide receiver 2. They need a tight end 2. They need either a defensive end or an outside backer. They need a defensive tackle. They need an inside linebacker. They need a corner. They need a punt returner, and they need a kicker. They also, and I have stars by these positions, they need a center, they need a wide receiver 3, and they need a defensive tackle. And the reason I have stars by those positions are because Teair Tart, Aaron Brewer, and Nick Westbrook-Akine are all restricted free agents, which means the Titans could bring them back for $2.6 million on what's called a right of first refusal. They could also tender a guy like Tart at a second-round pick value for $4 million, which means if another team signs Teair Tart, they have to give you their second-round pick, and a team will not give you a second-round pick to sign Teair Tart to a contract. So that would bring him back. My guess is Brewer comes back on the right of first refusal at $2.6 million. So I put a star by center because they could have that filled, which means they need 2 guards, a wide receiver 2, and a tight end 2. Now, I want them to bring back Austin Hooper. I'm not sure they're going to do that, but I would like it if they did. And I'm just looking at some of the guards who are available that the Titans could have interest in. Gabe Jackson of Seattle's 31 years old, but serviceable guy, starts. He could be in the mix. Roger Saffold is a free agent, and the Bills replaced him today with Connor McGovern, so he could be an option. I think they're going to need to sign 1 guard, and I don't know who it's going to be. And I don't know for how much. I mean, I'm going to sign Nate Davis back for $10 million. But I think the Titans need to sign 1 guard. Then they can go into the draft, and they can either take the best tackle, or they can trade down, or take the best receiver, or take the best whatever. But I think to feel comfortable, they need to take a guard. And then that way, whoever loses out between a draft pick, Dillard, and Petit Ferrer can play the other guard position, and then Brewer can play center. Not that I love the fact that Brewer, who is so small, would be out there for you at center, but it's much better than him being out there at guard like he was last year. That is on the horizon. Wide receiver, still a need for the Titans. Robert Woods did sign with the Texans over the weekend. I do wonder if we could see the Titans hit the trade route as far as wide receiver 2 is concerned. But still veteran guys that are out there. Marvin Jones is going to be 33, but he was a serviceable player last year for Jacksonville. Juju Smith-Schuster's out there. I think he's more of a tight end at this point in his career. So there are needs, and there are still players. And I don't think a single wide receiver has been signed yet. I haven't
seen any.
I don't think a single wow, what does that mean? Hold on, let me pull this up. One free agent wide receiver has signed. Robert Woods, 2 years, $15 million, $10 million guaranteed by the Texans. That's it. So the Titans still have a need there. But wow, what a day. And they still have all these needs. This is a really weird free agent class. And I think it's a weird free agent class because I'm not convinced that a lot of these players are any good. Some other news just to keep you updated. Jawan Taylor to the Chiefs. He's going to play right tackle. He's the right tackle or left tackle. He was the right tackle in Jacksonville. Meanwhile, Jimmy G to the Raiders. The Bills signed Connor McGovern. The Bears signed Mike McGlinchey. The Broncos signed McGlinchey. The Bears signed Nate Davis. The 49ers signed Javon Hargraves. And the Falcons signed David Onyemata. And then there's a bunch of other ones there. TD's here. TD, you've been talking about the idea of the Titans signing Andre Dillard or even trading for him before the deadline. What do we know about him? What do you think of the deal? Reported 3 years, $29 million by Mike Garafolo.
I think that's great value to get a guy that could come in and be your starting left tackle. One thing you have to remember, this guy entering 2021, he was projected to be the starting tackle, but he got beaten out by Jordan Mailata. And I'll say this about Mailata. They brought him in the year I came here, so 2018. They brought him in. They used a low draft pick on him. You could Google his highlights, the crazy rugby player. He was Jeff Stoutland's personal project. So this was bound to happen. I'm talking about one-on-one work over a 3-year process, right? So Mailata beat him out, and he signed a huge deal with the Eagles last year. So that's really what happened there. I think when you look at Dillard, the one thing that I do want to kind of bring to light, the run blocking. I'm not from what I've been told, he doesn't have as much as that killer instinct in him. Now, I don't know the man. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what I've been told. So that's something to look out for. But, I mean, you're getting a first-round talent. He was the number 22 pick, in 2019. So you're getting a first-round talent.
So you're saying the reason why he only has 9 career starts is not because he's not a good player, but he has 9 career starts because there was just nowhere for him to play.
There was nowhere, because guess who was on the right side?
Lane Johnson.
Right, the best right tackle in football. You know what I mean? So you definitely weren't playing right tackle. So he got beaten out by Mailata, and then he was kind of like a swing guy, but he also had injuries too. He was on IR actually this past year, but he was someone that the Eagles valued. They just couldn't, you can't have a $29 million swing guy. So they couldn't keep him there. So that's why he's not with them. And the thing is, you coming from a Jeff Stoutland coached, you're going to be very, very in order as a player as far as technique and that thing is concerned.
What do you think about his positional versatility? Because I think right now pencil him in at left tackle, but if they end up going left tackle at 11, what could that mean for the rest of the line?
You could flip him to right tackle, right? Let's say Paris Johnson Jr., you get him, you have him at left tackle, you flip him to right, you bump Petit Ferrer into one of the guard spots. I think in signing Dillard, it's a buy one, get one free situation because he can play guard too. I wouldn't put him there, but he could play guard as well.
What do you think? It's crazy that Nate Davis signs for 3 years, $30 million, and then Andre Dillard signs for 3 years, $29 million. Now, we don't know. Davis, it's basically a 2-year deal, and the third year is kind of an option.
Yeah.
With Dillard, we don't know what that is, but what do you make of that money for somebody who seems as unproven as Dillard is by the reps?
I think you're signing upside. That's really what it is. And, left tackle position it's going to be – it's more valuable as far as in the chain of contract value. You know what I mean? You're going to spend more money on a tackle than a guard typically.
How do you feel right now if right now the Titans are sitting there and they say, okay, we've got Dillard penciled in at left tackle, we've got Petit Ferrer penciled in at right tackle, and we're going to tender Aaron Brewer at $2.6 million, and we've got him penciled in at center. How do you feel about their current offensive line position, given the market the way it is and the draft the way it is?
I think that's a really good start. I mean, at one point, Brewer was considered to be the future at center. So you're just going back to how it was supposed to be. I feel good about that also. I actually just got done talking to Jackson Kirkland from Washington. The Titans have been in touch with him. We're talking about a 6'7", 321-pound guard, and he is violent. He loves to run block. He's solid in pass pro too. So this is a guy like a day 3 option. There's going to be more of those guys coming out. And by the way, they met with Osiris Torrance out of Florida as well. Now, if you go that route, you're going to have to use a higher pick. So I don't know how that works.
Could you trade down from 11 and get Torrance, or do you have to get Torrance at 11?
You could trade down from 11 and get Torrance, but he's not. I'm not going to say he's not. It's very unlikely he drops out of the first round.
The one thing I think about when you said the Titans are signing upside, the one thing I believe, and I think this is probably essentially a 1-year deal with 2 options behind it for Dillard, is let's say he's the starting left tackle and he does a good job. then you're talking about maybe a $9 million salary one year and a $10 million salary. I mean, Mike McGlinchey, who's a good right tackle, not a great right tackle, but a good right tackle, just signed for $17 million a year.
Yeah.
And I think that's the route the Titans are trying to take. And there must have been something on the film that they really liked about him.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the upside is there. He's going to be technically sound. He's coached by Jeff Stoutland. So, that weighs. You know what I mean? So I think it's a good signing. And it's one we've been talking about.
Your thoughts on Nate Davis to the Bears, David Long? 2 years, $11 million. The Titans don't bring David Long back. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I want to get Chase to play that, Boys to Men. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. My feelings are hurt that David Long's not coming back, man.
How about the money?
And at that's what I'm saying. At that cost, my feelings are hurt that he's not coming back. Oh, man, that hurts my feelings because he's so much fun to watch, And the thing is, like, you take that out of that defense, Monty Rice, hey, it's on you. Don't forget about Chance Campbell, too, out of Ole Miss. He had, like, 350 tackles his senior year. So he's someone, but it's tough. That defense is, it's going to be interesting. And Nate Davis, I mean, we know that he and Coach Vrabel didn't really jive as much as Coach Vrabel does with a lot of other players. And the injury situation, wasn't good for him. But I think when he was here, he played well. Just going to next man up.
My theory is they've looked at the roster, and if you're hurt, unless you're, like, good like Danico Autry, if you got hurt last year, you're not coming back.
Yeah.
Davis got hurt last year. Ben Jones got hurt last year. Lawan got hurt last year. Bud Dupree got hurt last year. David Long got hurt last year. So unless you're on, like, a rookie deal like Fulton is, if you got hurt last year, you're not coming back.
Yeah. And you remember both of those guys, David Long and Fulton, Mike Vrabel mentioned as repeat offenders, soft tissue stuff. So, yeah, I hate to see him go, though, man.
But if you had told me, even though with the injuries, 2 years, $11 million for David Long, I would have taken it.
Exactly.
I would have taken it.
That's what makes it. Tough to swallow. Like, ooh, that's a deal you probably could have made. And look, man, I'm not a fan of the team. Or a fan of any team for that matter. But I'm a fan.
Good for you, because I'm a fan of the team.
I'm a fan of David Long. I love watching him play. So not being able to do that every week, that's where I'm hurt.
TD, thanks for stopping by.
For sure.
Stillman and Company, we will have all more breakdowns of the signings and everything else. Again, the Titans add Andre Dillard. They lose Nate Davis. They lose Jayon Brown. David Long. They still have a bunch of needs out there. Stillman and Company. We'll see you tomorrow, too.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gun performance.
Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
NFL analyst Louis Riddick says Jimmy G now has some familiarity on his side in Vegas.
He's going to be one of those guys who, with a quick play-action passing game and attacking the middle of the field, this is something that's just a staple in New England's style of offense, now Vegas' style of offense, and something that he is very comfortable doing. Getting the ball out quick, making great decisions, putting the ball in good locations, utilizing tight ends and backs out of the backfield. Also, obviously, the deep passing game component is going to be a big part in this offense because that's something that Devontae really does excel at.
That is Louis Riddick, ESPN NFL analyst. Raiders also agree with Marcus Epps on a 2-year deal for the safety worth $12 million. And ESPN's Adam Schefter reports the Steelers have agreed on a 2-year deal with free agent cornerback Patrick Peterson. ESPN also confirming quarterback Jarrett Stidham leaving the Raiders to sign a 2-year, $10 million deal to back up Russell Wilson in Denver. And Sam Darnold has agreed to a 1-year deal with the 49ers. NBA on ESPN Radio, presented by Indeed, beginning right now.